The awakening stone pulses at the center of the arena, a crystal taller than a man. Every 18-year-old in the kingdom stands in a circle around it, hearts hammer. Tae-ho watches the light ripple across its surface and swallows. His family name carries zero weight here. No noble blood, no inheritance, no patron to buy him a second chance. His only shot is whatever that stone decides to give him. The stone doesn't care about your feelings. The officiator calls the first name. A girl steps forward, places her palm on the crystal, and the stone flares bright. Common Tailor. She walks off looking like she swallowed a lemon, but at least she walked. Next is a boy who gets Common Merchant and doesn't even blink, probably already counting coins in his head before he's out of the ceremony hall. Tae-ho's leg bounces. Subin, standing 2 places to his left, shoots him a nervous grin. Our boy doesn't grin back. Min-kyu's name rings out, and the whole arena goes quiet. He strides to the stone like he already owns it. Che is from one of the founding noble houses. His older brother runs a top 10 guild. Everyone expects fireworks, and Che clearly expects them too. He slaps his hand onto the crystal. The stone erupts. Gold light shoots into the rafters, and the officiator's voice cracks when he reads it. Rare class warrior. The crowd loses its mind. Che turns to the assembly, raises one fist, and soaks in the applause like a cat in sunlight. A few nobles stand and clap. He walks back to his spot, and on the way past Tae-ho, his shoulder checks our boy hard. Tae-ho stumbles a step. Che doesn't even look back. He doesn't have to. The officiator calls Tae-ho. His stomach drops. Legs work though, and he walks. The stone looms in front of him, cold and indifferent. He presses his palm flat against it. For half a second, nothing happens. Then the crystal flickers a weak green, like a dying glow stick. The words appear above it. Common Herbalist. Laughter hits him from every direction. Not just chuckles. Full, mean, gut-level laughter. Someone 3 rows back yells that he can pick flowers for the real hunters. Another voice says his career is over before it started. Che doesn't even laugh. He just smirks, and that's somehow worse. Tae-ho pulls his hand off the stone and walks back to his spot. His ears burn. His jaw locks. He doesn't look at anyone. Subin mouths something encouraging, but Tae-ho can't hear it over the ringing in his ears. Common Herbalist. Bottom of the profession ladder. The kind of class people pity. The officiator is already calling Subin's name, and the ceremony rolls on without a pause. Because to this crowd, Tae-ho's result is just the punchline they expected. No one is surprised. Subin gets Common Chef and somehow manages to look relieved. He jogs back to Tae-ho's side and whispers that at least he can cook for him. Tae-ho opens his mouth to answer. Then his vision goes black. Not faint. A system window slams across his sight. And it's not the standard profession panel. The edges are gold, not green. An ornate border that looks nothing like the common rarity display. 2 lines of text burn in the center. Unique talent unlocked. Monster passive copy. Tae-ho reads the second line 3 times. He doesn't know what unique means in the profession hierarchy. Nobody ever talks about a rank above legendary, but the system just used it. His heart pounds so hard, he feels it in his throat. The window describes a single ability. Defeat a monster and copy one of its passive skills. Passives stack. He can hold up to 5 at a time. Tae-ho's mind races. Standard profession holders learn active skills from books and trainers. Passives are rare for anyone below rare class, and even then, they're fixed. His body is a blank slate right now. The first monster he kills, that blank slate gets its first permanent mark. He stands in the middle of the ceremony hall, surrounded by people who just wrote him off, and he feels his lips twitch. He doesn't smile. He's too smart for that, but the twitch is there. The ceremony ends. Students spill out into the courtyard, buzzing about their new professions. A circle forms around Che Min-kyu, nobles and hopefuls all angling for his attention. He holds court like a prince. Tae-ho walks the other direction, toward the academy's east gate. Subin catches up, still rattling off encouragement about how herbalists are underrated. Tae-ho stops walking. He turns to Subin. He says he's not going to be an herbalist. Subin squints, confused, and asks if the system gave him a reassignment option. Tae-ho says no. He says he's going to be a hunter anyway. Subin points out that common professions don't get combat skills, and hunting slimes alone is suicide. Tae-ho just says he'll figure it out. Subin stares at him. The guy has every right to call him crazy. Instead, Subin says he'll cook him the best pre-hunt meal of his life if he's serious. Tae-ho claps his shoulder and thanks him. Then he walks straight past the academy grounds, out toward the eastern gate, toward the beginner dungeon sign. A few students notice. One of them points and laughs, asking if the flower boy is lost. Tae-ho doesn't answer. He enters the dungeon gate alone. The system pings him with a warning. Unranked profession holder. Combat not recommended. He swipes the message away. The dungeon is damp and dim, a cave system lit by glowing mushrooms. Slimes wobble around the first chamber, translucent and dumb. One of them gurgles and bounces toward him. No weapon, no combat skill. Tae-ho picks up a rock. He slams it down. The slime squishes, splits, and reforms. 6 damage. The thing barely notices, lunges and smacks into his knee, sending him stumbling into the wall. Tae-ho feels the bruise bloom instantly. He grabs a bigger rock. He swings again. Another 6 damage. 1 hour later, his arms are noodles, and the first slime is finally dead. It dissolves into mist, leaving a tiny mana stone. And a system window. Monster defeated. Passive skill available. Slimy body. Do you wish to copy this passive? Tae-ho, gasping, says yes out loud to an empty cave. The skill lands like a cold wave through his bloodstream. His skin takes on a faint sheen. The description reads that physical impacts now slide off him, reducing blunt damage by 30%. It's not immortality, but 30% is the difference between getting hurt and getting dead. He turns to the next slime. This time, when it hits him, he barely feels it. He kills another, then another. His rock shatters, so he uses a sharpened chunk of cave stone. The hours blur. 5 passives fill his slots. Slimy body, agility boost, night vision, mana recovery, sharp claws. With agility boost, his movements sharpen. Night vision turns the cave from murky to daylight bright. Mana recovery hums under his skin, feeding energy he didn't know he had. Sharp claws extends thin keratin blades from his fingertips, ugly as hell, but they cut. His level hits 5. Then 7. Common Herbalist with 7 levels in a combat dungeon. The system never predicted this. Neither did anyone at the ceremony. And Tae-ho knows this is only the start. He pushes deeper. The cave opens into a wider chamber, crisscrossed by wooden barricades. Goblins, 5 of them, crouched around a campfire, their green skin flickering in the orange light. Each one is level 8 at least. They've got crude swords and shields. Tae-ho presses himself against the tunnel wall and watches. He has passives now, but no active combat skills. He needs a plan. He picks up a loose rock, aims at a stalactite above the goblins, and hurls it. The stone smacks the ceiling. The stalactite doesn't fall, but it makes noise, and the goblins all spin toward the sound, grabbing their weapons. One of them barks an order, and 2 of them break off to investigate the tunnel. Tae-ho retreats into the dark. Night vision gives him the advantage here. He can see them perfectly, but they're squinting into blackness. The first goblin passes his position. Tae-ho lunges. Sharp claws rake across its throat before it can scream. It gurgles, stumbles, and falls. Monster defeated. Passive skill available. Goblin's cunning. The description says it sharpens threat detection. He can sense hostile intent. Faster. He copies it. He now has 6 passives, so he drops slimy body to make room. The second goblin turns. It sees its dead companion, sees Tae-ho crouched over the body, and screeches. Tae-ho doesn't wait. He charges, claws extended, and drives both hands into its chest. It goes down. Monster defeated. Passive skill available. Pack instinct. This one amplifies his damage when fighting near allies. No allies here, so he skips it. The other 3 goblins come running. Tae-ho drags both bodies behind a rock formation and presses himself flat. Goblin's cunning was a good choice. He can feel their hostility as a prickle at the back of his neck. Each one's position clear as a heat signature. They spread out to search. Tae-ho circles wide. He picks off the 3rd goblin alone near the campfire. The 4th puts up a fight, its sword slicing a gash across his forearm. But mana recovery is already flooding his system, deadening the pain. He kills it. The 5th goblin, the leader, charges with a howl. Tae-ho sidesteps, slams his claws into its spine, and ends it. The chamber goes quiet. His level hits 10. His body hums with stolen power. He has passives from monsters that took other hunters' parties to defeat, and he got them alone, with rocks and claws, in one night. He looks around the silent chamber, breathing hard, covered in goblin blood and slime residue. This is real. This is working. He doesn't need a profession. He just needs more monsters. Above the dungeon, a single figure sits on a ridge. Seo Kyung-hwan, a professor of the academy, lowers his spyglass. He's been watching since the first slime kill. An old man with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. Seo Kyung-hwan has seen a lot of young hunters come and go, but he's never seen an herbalist fight like a rare-class assassin. He mutters to himself that this boy is not what the ceremony said he was. Tae-ho staggers out of the dungeon at dawn. His clothes are shredded, his arms are covered in cuts, and he's never felt more alive. Subin is waiting at the gate with a wrapped bundle of food. He takes one look at Tae-ho and nearly drops the bundle. Tae-ho catches it and says he's hungry enough to eat a goblin. Subin asks if he's serious. Tae-ho bites into a rice ball and says, maybe tomorrow. The academy buzzes with news within hours. A common herbalist cleared the beginner dungeon solo. No combat skills. No support party. Students dismiss it as a rumor. Chae Min-kyu hears it in the training yard while sparring with 2 other warriors, and he laughs out loud. He tells everyone that the flower boy probably got lost, and the goblins ignored him because he wasn't worth killing. So Kyung-hwan appears in Tae-ho's dormitory that evening. The old professor stands in the doorway, silhouetted by the hallway light, and asks to come in. Tae-ho is too tired to be surprised. He just nods. Seo sits on the room's only chair, steeples his fingers, and says he saw everything. Tae-ho goes still. Professor adds that he knows about the unique talent, and he's not here to expose him. He's here to help. He offers to train Tae-ho, not publicly, not yet, but in a private facility where his growth won't draw Yang Jin-sung's attention. Tae-ho asks who that is. Seo's face darkens. Yang Jin-sung is the guild master of the Black Iron Guild, one of the kingdom's largest, and a man who sees rising talents as threats. He's crushed promising hunters before they could bloom. If Yang learns about a unique talent on a common profession, he'll act. Tae-ho absorbs that. Then he accepts the training. Night falls on the academy. In a dark office across the city, Yang Jin-sung sits behind a heavy oak desk. An assistant places a report in front of him. A common herbalist cleared the beginner dungeon, solo. Yang reads the report, then reads it again. His fingers drum on the wood. He tells his assistant to keep watching the boy. If he shows any more anomalies, they'll arrange a little mission. Something with a very low survival rate. The assistant nods and slips out. Yang leans back. He doesn't like surprises. Tae-ho stands in his dorm room the next morning, still sore from the dungeon run. His body aches in places he didn't know he had. But his system window is glowing with 5 passives, and his level sits at a clean 10. He stares at it for a long moment. A common herbalist is not supposed to clear a dungeon alone. A common herbalist is not supposed to hit level 10 in one night. A common herbalist is definitely not supposed to have agility boost, night vision, mana recovery, sharp claws, and goblin's cunning stacked on top of each other. But he does. He clenches his fist and watches the faint shimmer of mana recovery ripple under his skin. The cuts on his arms are already closing. Subin knocks on his door at 7 a.m. with more rice balls and a look of pure anxiety. He asks if Tae-ho slept at all. Tae-ho takes a rice ball and says he slept like a dead man. Subin does not believe him. He points at Tae-ho's arms and asks where the cuts went. Tae-ho glances down. The wounds from the goblin sword are gone. Not scabbed over. Gone. Mana recovery is doing more than he thought. He tells Subin he heals fast. Subin stares at him like he just grew a second head. He mutters that a chef is never going to keep up with whatever Tae-ho is becoming. Tae-ho claps him on the shoulder and says he'll always need someone to feed him. Subin laughs, but it's a nervous laugh. Word of the solo clear spreads through the academy like a grass fire. Students whisper in the hallways. Some say it's a lie. Some say the dungeon must have been empty. A few of the quieter ones just watch Tae-ho when he walks past, their eyes tracking him like he's a puzzle they can't solve. Chae Min-kyu hears the rumors in the training yard. He's mid-swing with a wooden greatsword when one of his flunkies runs up with the news. Chae stops, lowers the sword, and laughs so loud the whole yard turns to look. He announces that the flower boy probably tripped over a rock, and the goblins died of laughter. His friends cackle. Chae's eyes don't match his laugh. They're sharp and cold and calculating. He tells his crew to keep an eye on the herbalist, just in case the loser is stupid enough to try something. Tae-ho ignores the stairs and heads to the library. He needs information on monsters, not slimes and goblins, bigger things. Things with passives worth taking. He pulls every bestiary he can find and spreads them across a table. The librarian gives him a look, but says nothing. He flips through entries on dire wolves, cave serpents, stone gargoyles, and shadow wraiths. Each monster has a list of known abilities. Some are active skills, useless to him. But some are passives. Dire wolves have pack instinct, damage amplification near allies. Cave serpents have thermal sense, heat-based detection in total darkness. Stone gargoyles have granite skin, massive physical defense boost. Shadow wraiths have something called void step, short-range teleportation through darkness. His heart beats faster just reading it. He copies the entries into a notebook and starts planning. The beginner dungeon is tapped out. He needs something hard. He pulls up the academy's dungeon roster. D-rank dungeons are open to students level 10 and above. There are 3 within walking distance: the Crystal Cavern, the Wailing Forest, and a sealed ruin called the Ashen Vault. The Ashen Vault has a warning flag on it. Unusually high monster density, recommended for parties of 5 or more. Tae-ho closes the book. That's the one. Seo Kyung-hwan finds him in the library at noon. The old professor sits down across from him without asking. He glances at the bestiary, the notebook, the dungeon roster. Then he fixes Tae-ho with those sharp old eyes and says the boy moves fast.
Tae-ho doesn't deny it.
Seo asks what he's planning. Tae-ho tells him about the Ashen Vault. Seo's expression doesn't change, but his fingers go still on the table. He says that dungeon has killed students before, parties of 5.
Experienced ones.
Tae-ho says he hunted goblins with rocks and claws and won. 9 of them. Alone. So leans back and studies him for a long moment. Then he says the private training starts tonight. If Tae-ho wants to survive the Ashen Vault, he needs more than stolen passives. He needs technique,
Footwork.
timing, the things no monster passive can give him. Tae-ho nods. He says he'll be there. The private facility is hidden under the academy's east wing. Seo leads Tae-ho down a spiral staircase that seems to go on forever. Walls shift from stone to reinforced steel. The air gets cooler and cleaner, and smells faintly of ozone. At the bottom, a massive chamber opens up. Training dummies line the walls. Not straw and cloth, but solid iron constructs etched with runes. Weapon racks hold swords, spears, axes, and things Tae-ho doesn't have names for. The floor is scarred with burn marks and gouges. This room has seen real combat. Seo walks to the center and turns to face him. He says they'll start with the basics. No passives, no claws. Just Tae-ho's body and whatever he can learn. Tae-ho asks if he can keep mana recovery active. Seo considers it. Then he nods and says that one stays. He wants Tae-ho alive at the end of this. The first hour is brutal. Seo runs him through stance drills. Foot placement. Weight distribution. How to shift his center of gravity without telegraphing. Tae-ho's legs burn and his back screams. But mana recovery is a quiet hum in his blood, and it dulls the edge of the exhaustion. By the second hour, Seo has him sparring against the iron constructs. They move on their own with jerky, unpredictable lunges. One catches Tae-ho in the ribs and he goes down hard. So tells him to get up. He does. The construct swings again. This time, Tae-ho sidesteps and feels Goblin's cunning flare. A prickle at the back of his neck that tells him where the next attack is coming from. He ducks under it and drives his palm into the construct's chest. It staggers. Seo raises an eyebrow. He says the boy's already learning to blend instincts. Tae-ho wipes sweat from his eyes and grins. This is nothing like hunting slimes. This is real. Across the city, Yang Jin-sung's assistant delivers a second report. The herbalist has been seen entering the academy library and requesting dungeon rosters. He's also been spotted near the east wing after hours. Yang reads it slowly. His fingers drum on the oak desk, a steady rhythm like a war drum. He asks if the boy has joined any parties. The assistant says no. He hunts alone. Yang's expression flickers, something cold and curious. He says a common profession hunting alone is not just unusual, it's impossible, unless the ceremony missed something, unless the boy has something he shouldn't. He tells the assistant to move up the timetable. Forget the low survival mission later. He'll arrange an invitation, a guild-sponsored expedition into a C-rank dungeon, with Yang's own people. He wants the herbalist inside within 3 days. The assistant hesitates and asks what the cover story will be. Yang smiles. A thin, sharp line that doesn't reach his eyes. He says they'll call it a mentorship opportunity, a chance for a promising young hunter to gain real experience. The boy won't be able to refuse without looking like a coward or a fool. And once he's inside, Yang leans forward and steeples his fingers. Once he's inside, the dungeon will handle the rest. No body, no scandal, no threat to the order of things. The assistant bows and slips out. The office falls silent, except for the drumming of Yang's fingers. He doesn't like surprises. And Tae-ho is becoming a very large surprise. The hallway buzzes with it before first bell. One of the common track losers soloed the beginner dungeon. Not a party, not a squad, alone, overnight, and he walked out at dawn with blood on his sleeves and level 10 on his record. The rumor moves through the academy like a virus. By lunch, it reaches the training grounds, where Chae Min-kyu is running blade drills against 3 sparring constructs at once. His form is textbook. Every strike lands exactly where it should, and when the last construct clatters to the floor, he isn't even breathing hard. One of his crew jogs up with the news. Some herbalist kid cleared the beginner dungeon solo. Chae pauses. The towel stops halfway to his face. He asks for a name. The crew member shrugs and says, it's the one everyone laughed at during the ceremony. Tae-ho, Common Herbalist. Chae finishes wiping his face. Then he laughs. A short, sharp sound with nothing warm in it. He says the idiot probably got lucky with a few slimes, and now the whole school thinks he's something. His crew laughs too.
But Che's eyes don't match his mouth.
He's watching the main building across the courtyard with the cold focus of someone who's been #1 for a long time. Someone who doesn't like surprises. He tells his crew to find the guy. He wants to see this miracle herbalist in person. Tae-ho is crossing the south courtyard when the crowd parts. He's sore from last night's training. Seo worked him until his legs stopped cooperating. But mana recovery is already smoothing the edges. He notices the shift before he sees the source. Goblin's cunning sends a thin prickle down his spine. Hostile intent, focused and sharp, and aimed directly at him. Chae-min-kyu steps out of the midday glare with 3 of his people flanking him like an honor guard. He's taller than Tae-ho by half a head, broader in the shoulders. The academy uniform fits him like it was tailored for a prince, and the way he carries himself says he knows it. Tae stops 3 paces away and looks Tae-ho up and down with theatrical slowness. He says he's heard interesting things. The whole academy is buzzing about a certain herbalist who thinks he's a hunter now. Tae-ho doesn't flinch. He asks what Chae wants. Chae's smile doesn't waver. He says he wants to see if the rumors are true, or if a common profession is just playing pretend. A duel. 1 week from now, the academy arena, in front of the whole student body. Chae says he'll even go easy on him. Tae-ho's jaw tightens. Every instinct in his body, the cultivated ones from Seo's drills and the stolen ones from Goblin Blood, tells him this is bait. It's also exactly what he needs. A stage. A witness. Proof that a common profession can break the ceiling. He looks Chae in the eye and says he accepts. The crowd around them freezes. Someone drops their lunch. A girl with a notebook clutches it to her chest, like she's watching a car crash in slow motion. Chae's grin widens. He says he'll enjoy this. Then he turns and walks away, his crew falling in behind him like wolves who've already scented a kill. Tae-ho doesn't move until they're gone. The courtyard slowly fills with noise again, but it's a different kind of noise. Speculation. Wagers. People are already taking sides, and most of them are betting against the herbalist with the common profession. Tae-ho lets out a breath he didn't know he was holding. His hands are steady. Goblin's cunning is still humming at the base of his skull, a low-grade alert that tells him Chae-min-kyu is genuinely dangerous. Not the way goblins are dangerous, the way a trained killer is dangerous. Guess what? Tae-ho is counting on it. Soo-bin-vin finds him in the dormitory that evening. The chef is pale, and his hands are shaking so hard the rice balls he's carrying nearly spill. He shoves the tray onto Tae-ho's desk and demands to know if it's true. The duel. With Chae-min-kyu. In front of everyone. Tae-ho takes a rice ball and bites into it before answering. He says, yeah, it's true. Soo-bin looks like someone just told him the moon is falling. He says Chae-min-kyu isn't some slime. He isn't even a goblin. He's level 15 with rare-class warrior skills, and his family has been training him since he could hold a sword. He has an active skill called Blade Surge that can cut through stone. He has defensive passives that reduce damage from physical attacks. He's been top of every combat ranking since the first week of the semester. Soo-bin's voice cracks. He asks if Tae-ho has a death wish. Tae-ho finishes the rice ball and wipes his fingers on his sleeve. He says he knows exactly what Chae is. A rare-class warrior with good breeding and better training. A kid who's never lost a fight because he's never faced anything that surprised him. Tae-ho looks at the system window floating beside his bunk. 5 passives glowing in neat gold-edged rows. Agility boost. Night vision. Mana recovery. Sharp claws. Goblin's cunning. He closes the window and turns back to Soo-bin. He says he's been surprising things since the day he walked into the ceremony. This won't be different. Soo-bin stares at him for a long, shaky moment. Then he slumps onto the edge of the bed and buries his face in his hands. He mutters something about stubborn idiots and heart attacks, but he doesn't try to talk Tae-ho out of it anymore. He stays for an hour. When he leaves, he makes Tae-ho promise to eat every rice ball. The week that follows is a blur of sweat and iron and the cold hum of the underground facility. Seo Kyung-hwan heard about the duel within hours of the challenge. He didn't ask if Tae-ho was serious. He didn't try to talk him out of it. He just nodded once and said they'd need to accelerate the training. Now, Tae-ho spends 6 hours a night in the rune-lit chamber under the east wing. The first 2 nights are all defense. Seo says Chae's biggest advantage is his active skill, Blade Surge, can end a fight in 1 strike if it lands clean. Tae-ho's job is to never let it land clean. He runs evasive drills until his legs give out. The iron constructs come at him in waves, faster each night. Their rune-etched fists swinging in patterns that Seo adjusts on a tablet at the edge of the chamber. Goblin's cunning flares with every attack. A cold prickle that gives Tae-ho just enough warning to sidestep, duck, pivot, roll. By the 3rd night, he's not getting hit at all. Seo watches from the edge of the training floor with his arms crossed. He says the boy's reaction time is unnatural. Tae-ho wipes blood from a split lip, the one hit that slipped through, and says it's borrowed. Seo almost smiles. The next 3 nights are offense. Tae-ho pulls a wooden practice blade from the rack and tells Tae-ho to attack him. Tae-ho hesitates. The old man is a professor, not a fighter. Tae-ho tells him to stop worrying about his old bones and swing. Tae-ho swings. He wakes up on the floor with his ears ringing and no memory of how he got there. Tae-ho is standing over him with the practice blade resting on his shoulder. He says Tae-ho telegraphs his strikes. Every muscle in his body announces what he's about to do before he does it. A trained opponent like Chae Min-kyu will read those signals and counter them before the blow lands. They spend the rest of the night breaking those habits. Tae-ho learns to move without warning, to shift his weight from stillness, to strike from angles that don't require him to wind up. Goblin's cunning helps. The Goblin passive doesn't just detect threats, it whispers something about how threats move, how they commit, how they overextend. By the fifth night, Tae-ho lands his first hit on Seo, a glancing palm strike to the ribs that makes the old professor grunt. Seo steps back and rubs his side. He says that was good. He says it like it almost hurt. Tae-ho grins through his exhaustion. He asks if they can go again. The final night before the duel, Seo changes the drill entirely. No constructs, no sparring. He tells Tae-ho to sit on the scarred floor of the training chamber and close his eyes. Tae-ho does it. Seo's voice comes out of the dark, slow and measured. He tells Tae-ho to cycle through his passives. Not to use them, just to feel them. Identify where each one sits in his body. Agility boost is in the calves and thighs, a coiled spring waiting for release. Mana recovery thrums in the center of his chest. A low, steady warmth like a heartbeat. Sharp claws prickles in his fingers, a phantom sensation that makes his nails ache. Night vision flickers behind his eyelids, sharpening the darkness into shapes. Goblin's cunning is the hardest to pin down. It's not in a muscle or a bone. It's in the space between thoughts. Seo's voice comes closer. He says Chae Min-kyu has spent his whole life learning to fight with power and precision. He's never had to fight someone who can think like the things he's hunting. He tells Tae-ho to trust the stolen instincts. Trust them like they're his own, because they are now. Tae-ho opens his eyes. The training chamber is silent. Seo is standing at the door with his hand on the light switch. He says he'll be in the stands tomorrow. Then he kills the lights and leaves Tae-ho in the dark, with his passives humming under his skin. Morning comes too fast and too slow at the same time. The Academy Arena is a stone bowl sunk into the north end of campus, ringed with tiered seating that can hold 2,000 students. By the time Tae-ho walks through the competitor's gate, the stands are already half full. The buzz is electric. Word got around. A common herbalist challenging a rare class warrior, the bottom of the ladder taking a swing at the top. Most of the crowd is here for the spectacle. Some are here because they want to see blood. A few, a very few, are here because they remember what it felt like to be laughed at. Subin is in the second row, clutching a wooden spoon like a talisman. He looks like he hasn't slept. Chae Min-kyu is already in the arena, stretching his shoulders with the easy confidence of someone who's done this 100 times. He's wearing light combat gear, dark blue fabric reinforced at the joints, his family crest stitched over his heart. His sword is a single-edged blade with a hilt wrapped in black leather. It gleams under the morning sun like a promise. Referee is a combat instructor named Park something. Tae-ho doesn't catch the full name. He's a burly man with a scar across his jaw and a voice that carries without a microphone. He lays out the rules. The duel ends when one combatant yields, loses consciousness, or is judged unable to continue. No killing blows. No external interference. He looks at Chae first, then at Tae-ho. He asks if they understand. Both of them nod. The referee raises a hand. The crowd goes silent. His hand drops. Chae moves first. He crosses the distance between them in 3 long strides, and the first strike comes fast, a diagonal slash aimed at Tae-ho's shoulder. It's a test, measuring speed, reaction, nerve. Agility boost fires in Tae-ho's calves, and he sidesteps it clean. The blade whistles past his ear. He doesn't counter. Chae's grin flickers. He presses harder, a flurry of cuts, each one faster than the last. Blade Surge isn't active yet. This is just fundamentals, but Chae's fundamentals are brutal. Tae-ho weaves through them like water through rocks. Goblin's cunning lights up a half second before every strike, and Tae-ho's body responds before his brain catches up. The crowd is murmuring. They expected the herbalist to fold in the first 10 seconds. He hasn't thrown a single attack. Chae's expression shifts. The grin is gone. His eyes narrow. He steps back and adjusts his grip. A low hum builds in the air around his blade. The edge starts to glow with faint blue light. Subin's knuckles are white on his wooden spoon. He whispers something that might be a prayer. Chae says he's done playing. Blade Surge activates. The next strike splits the air. Even with agility boost and Goblin's cunning screaming in his skull, Tae-ho barely twists out of the way. The blade misses his chest by a finger's width, and the wind pressure alone tears a line through his uniform. He feels the sting of cut fabric and the cold kiss of air on exposed skin. Chae doesn't pause. He pivots into the second strike. a horizontal sweep that would bisect Tae-ho if it landed. Tae-ho drops flat to the ground and feels the blade pass over his back. The crowd gasps. He rolls to his feet and puts distance between them. Chae's breathing is steady. Blade surge is glowing brighter now, a luminous blue arc that leaves after images in the air. He says Tae-ho is fast. He'll give him that, but dodging isn't winning. Sooner or later, even the fastest prey makes a mistake. Tae-ho doesn't answer. He's been waiting, watching the rhythm of Chae's attacks. Blade surge has a pattern. A tiny hitch at the end of each swing where the skill resets. A fraction of a second. That's his window. Chae charges. The third blade surge comes in high. Tae-ho steps into it instead of away. Chae's eyes widen. That's not what prey does. Agility boost fires at full strength. Tae-ho drops under the swing and feels the heat of the blade pass through the air above his hair. Goblin's cunning marks the hitch. Right there. His body uncoils. Sharp claws extends from his fingertips. Not full length. Not enough to reveal what he is. Just a hard glint of keratin sharp enough to cut. He drives his palm into the soft spot under Chae's ribs, where the combat gear gaps. The strike lands with a sound like a fist hitting wet sand. Chae's breath leaves him in a sharp burst. The blue light on his blade flickers. Tae-ho doesn't stop. He pivots into the second strike. Seo drilled into him for 6 nights straight. A low sweep that hooks behind Chae's ankle. The rare warrior's balance shatters. He goes down hard. The crowd is on its feet. The noise is deafening. Tae-ho plants a knee on Chae's sword arm, pinning the blade to the stone. His other hand stops a finger's width from Chae's throat. The sharp claw retracts before anyone can see it. The arena goes dead silent. Chae Min-kyu stares up at him with wide, disbelieving eyes. He's gasping. Tae-ho is breathing steady. He asks if Chae yields. 5 seconds pass. Chae's jaw works. The silence stretches until it's almost painful. Then Chae closes his eyes. His head drops back against the stone. He says he yields. The referee's arm comes down. The arena explodes. Tae-ho stands. He offers Chae a hand. Chae stares at it like it's a foreign object. Then he knocks it aside and pushes himself up on his own. He's wobbly, and his pride is in tatters, but his spine is still rigid. He looks at Tae-ho with something that isn't quite respect and isn't quite hate. It's confusion. The confusion of someone whose world just got rearranged. He says this isn't over. Then he limps toward the competitor's gate without looking back. Tae-ho watches him go. Goblin's cunning tells him the threat isn't gone, just changed shape. That's fine. He didn't come here for an ending. He came here for a beginning. Up in the stands, Seo Kyung-hwan is on his feet with everyone else. His hands are clasped behind his back. His face is calm, but his eyes are bright. The old professor watches the herbalist kid walk out of the arena with the roar of 2,000 students ringing in his ears. He murmurs something to himself, something about stars, something about the ones nobody sees coming. Subin vaults the railing and crashes into Tae-ho at the gate. The chef is crying and laughing and hitting him on the shoulder and saying he almost had a heart attack 6 separate times. Tae-ho catches him and steadies him and doesn't let go of the smile on his face. For the first time in a week, he lets the exhaustion hit. It feels good, like proof, like the start of something bigger than both of them. Across the campus, in the administrative tower, an assistant places a fresh report on Yang Jin-sung's desk. The report is short. It describes the outcome of the duel. Yang reads it slowly. His fingers stop drumming. The office is very quiet. He sets the paper down and looks out the window at the arena, where the crowd is still buzzing. His expression is unreadable. He says the timetable needs to move up again. The mentorship invitation goes out tomorrow. Not 3 days. Tomorrow. The assistant bows and leaves. Yang stares at the arena a moment longer. Then he picks up his pen and continues his work. Somewhere deep inside him, a cold little voice whispers that he should have crushed this boy the moment he first heard the name. It's not too late. The window is closing. The roar of the crowd is still ringing in his ears when the knock comes. Our boy cracks the door open, still rubbing his shoulder where Subin punched him. A guild courier stands in the hallway, holding a sealed envelope with the Yang insignia. It is an invitation. Personal mentorship, C-rank dungeon. Tomorrow. Subin reads it over Tae-ho's shoulder and his face goes white. He says this smells worse than the fish he left out for 3 days. Tae-ho doesn't disagree. Goblin's cunning is prickling at the base of his skull like a live wire. But this is what he wanted. Yang Jin-sung is making his move, and Tae-ho intends to meet it head-on. He takes the invitation. Subin is already panicking and saying he'll pack extra healing herbs and bandages. He waves his wooden spoon around like it's a weapon and says he's coming too. Tae-ho asks if a chef is going to fight a C-rank monster with a ladle. Subin says he'll figure something out. The spoon trembles. Our boy puts a hand on his shoulder and tells him he needs him here. Someone has to keep the rice balls coming. Subin's laugh is wet, and he calls Tae-ho an idiot, and then he hugs him hard enough to crack a rib. Seo Kyung-hwan is already waiting in the training chamber when Tae-ho arrives. The old professor has the invitation in his hand before Tae-ho can say a word. He says he has eyes everywhere on this campus, especially where that snake Yang is concerned. He asks if Tae-ho knows what he's walking into. Tae-ho says it's a trap. Seo says it's a death sentence with a pretty bow on it. Yang is sending 4 of his most trusted hunters and calling it a mentorship. One of them is Hwang Dae-sung, level 32, loyal to the bone, and the bone belongs to Yang Jin-sung. Seo's face is granite. He asks if Tae-ho is still going. Our boy doesn't hesitate. He says Yang won't stop if he hides, and he didn't come this far to spend his life looking over his shoulder. Seo stares at him for about 5 seconds that feel like a geological era. Then the old warrior's mouth twitches. It's almost a smile. He says the student finally sounds like a hunter. He tells Tae-ho to come with him to the armory. There's something he wants him to have. The armory is a vault under the east wing that Tae-ho never knew existed. Seo presses his palm to a rune-locked door, and it swings open with a hiss of cold air. Inside are weapons that gleam under mana lights, and armor that has seen real battle. Old bloodstains, scars from claws and fangs. Seo walks to a shelf at the back and takes down a small pouch on a leather cord. It looks unremarkable. He tosses it to Tae-ho. Our boy catches it, and the weight inside clinks like glass. He opens it and finds 3 vials of liquid that shimmer blue-green. Seo says it's a concentrated mana restoration elixir. 1 sip will bring a hunter back from the brink. He says Tae-ho's mana recovery is good, but it has limits. This is for when those limits break. Tae-ho asks if Seo is sure. Seo says he's not in the business of giving gifts. He's in the business of making sure his students survive long enough to become legends. He tells Tae-ho to bring the pouch back, with Hwang Dae-sung's teeth in it if possible. Our boy's grin is sharp. He says he'll see what he can do. The night is short, and Tae-ho doesn't sleep. He sits on the roof of his dorm and watches the stars, and runs through his passive list again and again. Agility boost, night vision, mana recovery, sharp claws, goblin's cunning, 5 tools. That's all he has against 4 seasoned hunters and a dungeon that wants him dead. Not enough, Yang's voice would say. But our boy is still smiling, because Yang doesn't know about the 6th tool, the one that copies whatever kills he makes along the way. Dawn breaks gray and cold. Assembly point is the guild courtyard in the city's merchant district. Tae-ho walks through the gate, and 4 heads turn toward him. 4 sets of eyes that size him up and find him wanting. The first face belongs to Hwang Dae-sung. He's a slab of a man with a jaw that looks like it was chiseled from a mountain and forearms thick as Tae-ho's thighs. He wears a leather vest over chainmail and a greatsword strapped across his back. He doesn't bother hiding his smirk. The second hunter is a woman with a longbow and a face like frozen silk. Her name is Yeon Hwa-ryung, level 28. She can pin a fly to a wall at 300 meters. The third is a wiry man with bandoliers of throwing knives and eyes that never stop moving. Kwon Ha-jun, level 27. He's the kind of hunter who knows 100 ways to kill someone quietly. The fourth is a healer in gray robes. Shim Eun-jung, level 25. She doesn't look at Tae-ho at all. She just adjusts the straps on her satchel and stares at the ground. Hwang Dae-sung claps his hands together, and the sound echoes off the cobblestones. He says the baby herbalist arrived. He's honestly surprised. He thought Tae-ho would run back to the academy with his tail between his legs. Yeon Hwa-ryung doesn't smile. She says there's still time for him to change his mind. This is a C-rank dungeon, not a slime pit. Kwon Ha-jun giggles. Sounds like someone rubbing 2 rocks together. He says the kid must think his little claws make him a real hunter, the claws nobody saw. Our boy doesn't blink. He just asks where the dungeon is. Hwang Dae-sung's smirk widens. He says they're heading to the mist marsh, and he hopes Tae-ho likes the smell of rotting vegetation, because he's going to get real familiar with it. The mist marsh is an hour outside the city, deep in a valley that never sees direct sunlight. The gate shimmers in the center of a dead grove, its edges flickering like a bad signal. Tae-ho can feel the mana leaking out of it. Cold and wet and wrong. Yeon Hwa-ryung strings her bow without a word. Kwon Ha-jun checks his blades one by one. Shim Eun-jung touches a small crystal on her satchel and mumbles something about the marsh being a bad place for a novice. The first honest thing any of them have said. Hwang Dae-sung unslings his greatsword and points it at the gate. He says the formation is simple. He takes point. Yeon covers rear. Kwon flanks left. The healer stays center. And our boy? He gets to be bait. Hwang Dae-sung says it like it's a joke. Nobody laughs. Tae-ho says he'll do whatever it takes to complete the mission. The big man's eyes flicker with something dark. He says that's the spirit. They step through the gate, and the world dissolves. One second, there's a dead grove and gray sky. The next, there's fog so thick Tae-ho can taste it on his tongue. It smells like wet copper and decomposing leaves. Ground underfoot is soft and sucks at his boots with every step. Trees lean in from all sides, their trunks twisted into shapes that look almost human. Mana lights pulse faintly from patches of bioluminescent moss. Night vision kicks in immediately. The fog becomes transparent. Tae-ho can see the terrain ahead in shades of gray-green. He can see the subtle trails where something large has dragged itself through the mud. And he can see the exact moment Hwang Dae-sung's hand signal changes. The big man raises 2 fingers. Then he points left. The formation shifts. Yeon drops back. Kwon melts into the fog. Shim Eun-jung pauses, and for a split second, her eyes meet Tae-ho's. There's something in them. Not pity, regret. Then she looks away and follows the others. Our boy is alone in the center of the path. Goblin's cunning screams at him. It's not just a prickle now. It's a hornet's nest in his skull. He doesn't move. He knows what this is. They're clearing the perimeter and leaving him exposed. Whatever monster is hunting in this fog won't see a party of 5. It'll see one vulnerable target standing alone. Classic bait tactic. Except Hwang Dae-sung never planned to pull him back. This isn't a mentorship mission. It's an execution dressed up in guild paperwork. A sound rolls through the marsh. Low and guttural and wrong. Tae-ho's breath catches. He's heard that sound before in the Academy bestiary recordings. It belongs to something that shouldn't be this close to the entrance. Something that hunts in pairs. 2 sets of eyes ignite in the fog ahead. Yellow, slitted. The mist parts and a pair of dire marsh stalkers step into view. Their bodies are low to the ground and covered in scales that shift color to match the mud. Their jaws unhinge to reveal rows of teeth that curve inward. Once they bite you, you don't pull away, you just bleed. Tae-ho draws his short sword. It's Academy standard, nothing special, but it'll cut. He checks his peripherals. No sign of the party. No Yeon on a ridge. No Kwon in the brush. They're gone. Our boy's lips pull back from his teeth. He knew this was coming. Didn't make it feel any less like a cold knife in the gut. But he doesn't run. He plants his feet and lets the stalkers come. The first one lunges low. Agility boost fires. Tae-ho sidesteps and feels the air compress where the beast's jaws snap shut. He brings the short sword down on the back of its neck. The scales deflect the blade with a spray of sparks. Tough hide. No problem. He switches to sharp claws. The keratin extends from his fingertips on his left hand. The second stalker circles behind him and leaps at his back. Goblin's cunning gives him half a second's warning. He drops and rolls, and the beast sails over him. He comes up on one knee and drives his claws into the space behind the stalker's jaw. Soft tissue. No scales. The creature screams and convulses. He rips sideways, and blood geysers across the mud. One down. The second stalker doesn't retreat. It seems to understand that it's larger than him and hungrier. It charges straight through the blood spray, and its jaws close on his forearm. Pain explodes up Tae-ho's arm. The teeth don't lock deep because slimy body is gone, and he kicked himself a dozen times for replacing it. But mana recovery is already flooding the wound with blue-green light. The tissue knits even as the stalker tries to shake him loose. Tae-ho doesn't scream. He shoves the short sword through the roof of its mouth. The blade punches into the brain. The stalker's eyes go blank. It slumps. Our boy yanks his arm free and watches the system window blink to life. 2 new passives available for copying. From the first, Marsh Camouflage blends Hunter into wetland environments, reducing visual detection by 40%. From the second, Ragged Maw enhances jaw strength and bite force, but that's useless to a human. He takes Marsh Camouflage. The change is immediate. His skin tingles, and his outline blurs at the edges. Not invisibility, just the perfect coloration to make him a ghost in this fog. He's bleeding. He's angry, but he's alive. He drops the short sword and flexes his claws. Then he turns toward the direction the party disappeared. Goblin's cunning traces a thread of hostile intent through the fog, like a scent trail. They're not far. Hwang Dae-sung will be disappointed when he sees he's still breathing. Our boy starts walking. Marsh Camouflage swallows his footsteps. This hunt just turned into a different kind of game, and Hwang Dae-sung doesn't know the rules anymore. About 300 meters ahead, the 4 hunters are clustered on a dry hummock under a dead willow. Kwon Ha-jun is laughing about something. Yeon Hwa-ryung is scanning the fog with an arrow knocked. Shim Eun-jung is sitting on a root with her head down. Hwang Dae-sung is cleaning his greatsword and talking about how cleanup should be quick. He says the kid was brave. Brave and stupid, just like the old man predicted. He says they wait 5 more minutes. Then they find the body and make it look like a monster kill. Clean. Simple. Nothing Yang's guild can't bury. Our boy is 10 meters away, and none of them see him. He watches them for a long moment, The anger is still there. Colder now, Goblin's cunning filters the noise and focuses on one fact. Yang Jin-sung signed this order. The hunters are just the trigger. He needs the gun. He needs proof. So he does the last thing any of them expect. He steps out of the fog. Kwon Ha-jun's knives are in his hands before Tae-ho takes a second step. Yeon's bowstring draws back to her ear. Hwang Dae-sung's greatsword comes up and his eyes go wide. He says something that shouldn't be possible. The kid should be dead. Tae-ho doesn't draw a weapon. He just asks if they saved any of the marsh stalkers for him. He says he ran into two back there. They weren't friendly. Kwon's giggle is gone. Yeon's aim doesn't waver, but her jaw is tight. Shim Eun-jung looks at him for real this time. Her eyes say she knew. She knew, and she didn't stop it. That's going to matter later. Hwang Dae-sung recovers fast. He says he's impressed. The kid's got survival instincts. He says they lost him in the fog and were about to mount a rescue. The lie sits between them like a dead fish. Tae-ho doesn't call it out. He says he's glad they didn't wander too far. He's ready to continue the mission. The big man's grin is back. But it doesn't reach his eyes. He says, sure. The dungeon gets deeper. Plenty of time for accidents. Our boy smiles right back. He says he's counting on it. He's not dead. They're staring at a ghost, and the ghost is bleeding through his sleeve but still standing. Hwang Dae-sung's grin is back before the silence can settle. He says the kid's got guts. He says they were just about to mount a rescue. The lie hangs in the fog between them like a third stalker. Nobody calls it out. Our boy doesn't blink. He just says he's ready to push deeper. Kwon Ha-jun's giggle is gone. The knives are still in his hands, but his knuckles are white. Yeon Hwa-ryung lowers her bow half an inch. Shim Eun-jung won't meet his eyes. The party moves. Tae-ho walks at the rear. Marsh camouflage is still live, and his outline flickers whenever the fog thickens. He's a smear on the edge of their vision, and everyone knows it. Hummocks get smaller. The water gets deeper. The mud sucks at their boots, and the air turns cold. Something changes. Goblin's cunning fires. The prickle at the base of his skull is a needle now. Not one threat, dozens, all around them. Tae-ho stops walking. He says there's something in the water. Hwang Dae-sung doesn't turn around. He says the kid's paranoid. Then the marsh explodes. It comes up from the mud like a living wave, scales the color of old rust. A body 30 feet long and still coiling. 6 legs tipped with hooked claws. 2 sets of jaws stacked vertically. One for grabbing, one for crushing. The head swivels on a neck that bends in 3 places. Mistworm. And it's not alone. 3 more surface behind it. Smaller, juveniles. Maybe 12 feet each, but fast. The adults lock eyes on the party. Hwang Dae-sung is already swinging. His greatsword cleaves through the first juvenile's neck, but the second one is on him before the body hits the water. Teeth scrape his pauldron. He staggers. Yeon puts an arrow into the adult's eye. It hisses but doesn't retreat. Kwon vanishes into the fog with knives drawn. Shim Eun-jung raises both hands and a barrier of gray light snaps up around the hummock. It won't hold long. Tae-ho is already moving. Agility boost fires and he's a blur across the water. The adult worm's tail whips toward him. He jumps. The tail passes under his boots, and the air pressure alone nearly flips him. He lands on a hummock 10 feet to the left. The juvenile on his flank doesn't wait. It lunges. He sidesteps and his claws extend. One swipe across the throat. Scales part. Black blood sprays. The juvenile screams and thrashes. Tae-ho rides the thrashing and drives his claws in again. The system blinks. 1 kill. No passives that matter. He doesn't stop to read them. The adult worm roars. The sound is a physical thing. It hits his chest like a hammer. Yeon's second arrow bounces off the scales behind its jaw. The barrier shatters. Shim Eun-jung drops to one knee. Hwang Dae-sung is bleeding from 3 places, but he's still standing. He bellows at Tae-ho to get back in formation. Our boy doesn't answer. He's already sprinting toward the adult. Because Goblin's cunning just told him something useful. The worm's threat signature flickers when it breathes. The pattern is simple. Inhale, hold, exhale. 3 seconds between each cycle. 3 seconds where the thing can't bite, can't dodge, can't do anything but fill its lungs. The adult inhales. Tae-ho counts. He vaults over a coil of tail. He lands on the worm's back and his claws punch through the rust-colored scales. The worm chokes. Its breath hitches. The toxic cloud it was about to spew catches in its own throat. The gas vents through the wounds in its back instead of at the party. Green vapor billows into the air. Tae-ho rips his claws free. The worm convulses. It tries to throw him, but he's dug in deep. He rides the bucking like it's a training construct. Hwang Dae-sung sees the opening. He charges. The greatsword comes down on the worm's skull. Once. Twice. The third hit cracks bone. The worm goes limp. Tae-ho slides off the corpse and lands in waist-deep water. System window opens before he catches his breath. The adult's passive flickers at the top of the list. Toxic breath. converts ambient mana into a corrosive vapor that weakens enemies and damages equipment over time. He takes it. The change is immediate. His lungs burn. Not with pain, with pressure. His chest expands half an inch. Something in his throat rearranges itself, and for a second he feels like he's drowning. Then the pressure equalizes. Mana recovery floods the tissue with blue-green light and the burn fades. He exhales. A wisp of green curls from his lips. Dissipates in the fog. Nobody sees it. The juveniles retreat. Kwon reappears from the fog with blood on his knives. He's missing a chunk of his bicep. He says the rest are running. Yeon's bowstring is still drawn, but her quiver is half empty. Shim Eun-jung pulls herself upright. Her face is gray. She says the adult was a guardian. There'll be a nest. Hwang Dae-sung is breathing hard. Blood runs down his forearm and drips from his elbow. He looks at Tae-ho. His eyes are different now. Not amused, not dismissive, calculating. He says the kid fights like he's been doing this for years. Tae-ho says he picks things up fast. The silence stretches. Kwon breaks it. He asks if they're still doing the job, because this dungeon just got a lot more expensive. Hwang Dae-sung doesn't answer right away. He's looking at the dead adult, then at the water where the juveniles fled, then at Tae-ho. He says the job's changed. Our boy doesn't smile, but Goblin's cunning catches the shift. The thread of hostile intent from Hwang Dae-sung just thinned by half. Not gone, just thinner. Respect does that sometimes. It buys time. The party moves again. The fog gets thicker. Shim Eun-jung navigates by mana signatures. She says the nest is straight ahead, a quarter mile. Tae-ho walks beside her. He asks if she knew. She doesn't pretend to misunderstand. She says Yang signs her paychecks. She says she didn't have a choice. Tae-ho says everyone has a choice. She doesn't answer. The nest appears through the fog like a skeleton rising from the water. A dome of twisted roots and mud, 40 feet across. Ground around it is churned to slurry. Egg sacs pulse in the dark, dozens of them, each one the size of a human torso. And in the center of the nest, a worm bigger than any they've seen. 50 feet from snout to tail. Its scales are the color of dried blood, and its eyes are lanterns in the gloom. The matriarch. Hwang Dae-sung stops. He says this is suicide. He says they should pull out. Report the nest to the guild and come back with a full raid team. Yeon agrees. Kwon is already backing up. Tae-ho doesn't move. He says if they leave now, the eggs hatch tonight. 20 juvenile worms in the mist. Nobody makes it back to the gate. The math is simple. Fight or die. Hwang Dae-sung curses. He asks what the kid's plan is. Tae-ho tells him. It takes 30 seconds. Kwon says it's insane. Yeon says it might work. Hwang Dae-sung stares at the matriarch, then at the egg sacs, then at his bleeding arm. He says fine. He says if the kid gets them killed, he'll never forgive him. Tae-ho almost laughs. The plan is simple. Yeon puts an arrow into the matriarch's eye. Kwon draws the juveniles toward the eastern hummock. Shim Eun-jung throws up barriers to funnel them. Hwang Dae-sung takes the matriarch head-on, and Tae-ho goes for the eggs. The bowstring snaps. The arrow flies. The matriarch screams. Everything moves at once. Kwon is a blur of knives and insults. The juveniles surge toward him, and Shim Eun-jung's barrier cuts their path in half. Two break through. Yeon puts arrows into both. Hwang Dae-sung charges the matriarch. His greatsword slams into its jaw, and the impact shatters scales like pottery. The matriarch rears back. Its throat swells. It's going to spew. Tae-ho is already in the nest. He plants both feet on the pulsing mass of eggs. His claws extend. He inhales. The pressure in his chest builds. His lungs burn with green fire. He exhales. Toxic breath floods the nest. The vapor rolls across the egg sacs in a wave. Where it touches, the sacs wither. The membranes split. Fluid drains into the water. The unhatched worms inside convulse once and go still. The matriarch feels it. It screams. Not rage, pain. The psychic feedback hits like a shockwave. The matriarch thrashes. Hwang Dae-sung is thrown backward. His greatsword spins out of his hand. The matriarch turns toward Tae-ho. Its eyes are pure fury. It charges. Our boy doesn't run. He takes a second breath. Toxic breath blasts out again, straight into the matriarch's open mouth. The vapor hits the soft tissue at the back of its throat. The worm chokes. Its charge falters. Green corrosion spreads across its tongue, and its jaws lock up. Hwang Dae-sung retrieves his greatsword. He comes up behind the matriarch. One swing. Spine severs. The matriarch crashes into the nest. Mud and roots spray in every direction. Tae-ho jumps clear at the last second. The corpse settles. The fog goes quiet. No more juveniles. No more movement. Just the slow drip of water and the hiss of dissolving egg sacs. The system window blinks. Tae-ho ignores it. He's on his hands and knees in the mud. His throat burns. His chest feels like someone poured acid down his windpipe. Mana recovery is already working, but it's slow. Hwang Dae-sung stands over him.
The greatsword is still in his hand.
His face is unreadable. He says the kid saved them. He says the kid just wiped a matriarch nest solo. He says Yang was right about one thing. Tae-ho looks up. He asks what thing. Hwang Dae-sung says the kid is dangerous. Then he laughs. The sound is ugly and tired, and more honest than anything he's said all day. He extends a hand. Tae-ho takes it. Kwon limps back from the eastern hummock. He's missing another chunk of armor, and there's a fresh gash across his cheek. He says the juveniles are dead. He says the kid's plan actually worked. He sounds almost offended. Yeon drops from a dead tree and lands beside Shim Eun-jung. Her bow is unstrung. She says the nest is clear. Shim Eun-jung is staring at Tae-ho, not with regret anymore, with something closer to fear. She says he's not what they were told. She says Yang sent them to kill a common rank nobody. She says this isn't a nobody. Hwang Dae-sung is still holding the greatsword, but the blade is down. He says he's got a choice to make. He says Yang paid for a body. He says Yang didn't pay for a matriarch. He says the deal's off. Kwon stiffens. He asks if the boss knows what he's saying. Hwang Dae-sung says he knows. He says he's not dying for Yang Jin-sung's paranoia. He says Yang wanted a kid dead because he was scared. He says he doesn't kill kids for scared old men. Yeon nods. Kwon swears under his breath, but he sheathes his knives. Shim Eun-jung doesn't say anything. She just looks at her hands. Tae-ho gets to his feet. His arm is still bleeding, but the flow has stopped. Mana recovery is finally catching up. He looks at Hwang Dae-sung. He asks if the big man means it. Hwang Dae-sung says he means it. He says the kid's got his respect. He says respect doesn't come with a contract. He says they walk out of this dungeon together. He says when Yang asks, they tell him the mission went bad. The worm nest was bigger than expected. The kid died in the fight, brave to the end. Kwon asks what Yang does when he finds out the kid's alive. Hwang Dae-sung grins. It's a wolf's grin. He says Yang won't like it. He says Yang will want new heads on his desk. He says by the time Yang figures out what happened, they'll be long gone. Retirement fund cashed. New identities. Korea's a big country. Tae-ho listens. Goblin's cunning reads every thread of intent. No deceit. No ambush. Just 4 exhausted hunters who've decided they're done being someone else's knife. He says he needs something first. Hwang Dae-sung raises an eyebrow. Tae-ho says he needs a recording. The big man's expression doesn't change. He says the kid wants proof. Tae-ho says he wants Yang's voice on a recording stone, ordering the hit. Hwang Dae-sung is quiet for a long moment. Then he laughs again. It's the same ugly, tired sound. He says the kid really is dangerous. He says he's got the recording. He always records the briefings. Insurance, he calls it. He pulls a small mana stone from a pouch on his belt. It glows faintly orange. Recorded voice. He hands it to Tae-ho. He says it's all there. Yang Jin-sung's voice. The order. The cover story. Everything. Our boy closes his fist around the stone. He says thank you. Hwang Dae-sung shrugs. He says don't thank him. He says just make sure Yang burns. Tae-ho says he will. They walk out of the nest together. Fog is thinning. The dungeon gate glows in the distance. Tae-ho pockets the recording stone. Yang Jin-sung just signed his own death warrant. He just doesn't know it yet. They reach the gate at dusk. The academy spires are visible through the shimmer. Hwang Dae-sung stops at the threshold. He says this is where they part ways. He says the kid should go back to his dorm. They'll file the report tonight. Dead student. Tragic accident. Yang will believe it for a few days. Maybe a week. Tae-ho says a week is enough. Kwon tosses him a salute. Yeon nods once. Shim Eun-jung still won't meet his eyes. She says she's sorry. Tae-ho says she can prove it later. Then he steps through the gate. The academy courtyard is quiet. The sun is setting, and the training grounds are empty. Tae-ho crosses the grass toward the east wing. His clothes are soaked in worm blood, and his arm is crusted with dried gore. He doesn't care. He passes the dormitory. Doesn't stop. Passes the dining hall. Doesn't stop. He finds Seo Kyung-hwan in the underground chamber. The old man is seated cross-legged in the center of the rune-lit floor. He opens his eyes when Tae-ho enters. He sees the blood, the torn sleeve, the look on the boy's face. He asks what happened. Tae-ho pulls out the recording stone. He activates it. Yang Jin-sung's voice fills the chamber. Smooth. Cold. The voice of a man who thinks he's untouchable. It says to take the boy into the mist marsh. It says to make it look like a monster kill. It says to bury the body deep. Seo Kyung-hwan listens to the whole thing. His face doesn't change, but his hands curl into fists on his knees. When the recording ends, the silence is absolute. The old man says they need to go to the city lord. He says, this is evidence of attempted murder. He says Yang is finished. Tae-ho says it's not that simple, so asks why not. Tae-ho says Yang has friends. He says the city lord's office is half-staffed by guild appointees. He says they walk in with one recording and they walk out in chains. The old man's jaw tightens. He says the boy is right. He says they need more.
Tae-ho says he knows where to get it. Seo raises an eyebrow.
Tae-ho says the hunters who were sent to kill him turned. He says Shim Un-jung owes him.
He says she'll talk.
He says give him 3 days. Seo Kyung-hwan studies him for a long moment. He says the boy came back from a death trap with a recording and a plan. He says he's starting to think the kid doesn't need a teacher anymore.
Tae-ho almost smiles.
He says he still can't land a hit on the old man. Seo laughs. It's a dry sound, but warm. He says the kid will get there.
He says rest tonight.
Tomorrow they build the case. Our boy nods. He walks back to his dorm in the dark.
The recording stone is a cold weight in his pocket.
His arm aches. His throat still burns from the toxic breath. But he's alive. And Yang Jin-sung just made the biggest mistake of his career. He underestimated Yoon Tae-ho. The next morning, Hyo Soo-bin is waiting outside his door. The chef is pacing. He's holding a stack of papers, and his wooden spoon is tucked behind his ear like a talisman. He sees Tae-ho and nearly drops everything. He says he's been looking into Yang's guild. He says he's been digging through financial records all night. Tae-ho blinks. He asks why.
Soo-bin says because the invitation was wrong.
He says C-rank dungeons don't get personal mentorships. He says it smelled bad from the start. He says he got Jang Mi-ri to pull the guild's public filings. Tae-ho takes the papers. He flips through them. Numbers. Discrepancies. A trail of embezzled funds stretching back 3 years. Soo-bin says Yang's been skimming from the top. He says the guild reports one budget to the city and spends a completely different amount in the dungeon. He says the difference is sitting in a private account under a false name. Tae-ho looks up. He asks if Soo-bin can prove it. The chef grins. It's the first real grin Tae-ho has seen all day. He says the bank records have Yang's seal on them. He says the idiot used his own seal. Tae-ho stares at the papers, then at Soo-bin, then back at the papers. He says Soo-bin just gave him the second piece. Soo-bin asks what the first piece is. Tae-ho pulls out the recording stone. He activates it. Yang's voice fills the hallway. Soo-bin's face goes pale and red. He asks if that's real. Tae-ho says it's real. He says they've got Yang for attempted murder and embezzlement. He says it's not enough to kill him, but it's enough to get him arrested. It's enough to get him investigated. It's enough to put him in a cell long enough for Tae-ho to finish what he started. Soo-bin says they need to go to Seo. Now. Tae-ho says they already talked. He says they're going to the city lord's office this afternoon. But first, he needs to have a conversation. Soo-bin asks with who. Tae-ho doesn't answer. He's already walking toward the east wing. He finds Shim Un-jung in the training yard. She's alone. Her gray robes are clean, but there are dark circles under her eyes. She didn't sleep. She sees him coming and her shoulders tense. She says she thought he'd be smarter than to approach her in public. He says he thought she'd be smarter than to work for a man like Yang. She flinches. He tells her he's got the recording and the financials. A witness statement from 3 other hunters who just vanished from the guild's roster. He says she's got one chance. He says she testifies. She says what she knows. She names every official Yang bribed, every backroom deal, every threat. She says the old man was right about her. She's a coward. She says she knew what she was doing and she did it anyway. Tae-ho says he doesn't need her. Tae-ho says he doesn't need her guilt. He needs her on a witness stand, with her hand raised and her voice steady. She stares at him like he just asked her to walk barefoot through the marsh. Her lips press thin. Her knuckles are white on her robes, but she nods. She says fine. She says she'll do it. But she's got one condition. She wants protection for her little sister in the lower wards. Tae-ho says done. He doesn't even blink. Our boy walks away with 3 witnesses locked and loaded. Hwang Dae-sung, Hyo Soo-bin's stack of financial fraud. And now, the woman Yang paid to bury him. Yang Jin-sung has no idea the floor is about to collapse under his feet. That afternoon, Tae-ho and Seo Kyung-hwan march into the city lord's administrative hall. Soo-bin trails behind with a satchel full of bank records. The building is all polished marble and bad intentions. Clerks scurry like roaches when the lights come on. Seo asks for an audience with Lord Ju Sung-ho directly. The receptionist barely looks up. She says the Lord is busy. Seo drops the recording stone on her desk. It rattles like a threat. He says the Lord will want to be less busy. 2 minutes later, they're standing in a private chamber. Lord Ju is a thin man with oiled hair and a smile that never reaches his eyes. He listens to the recording. He flips through Soo-bin's financial documents. His expression does not change. Tae-ho watches the man's pupils. Nothing. Not a flicker. When the recording ends, the Lord sets it down gently. He says this is very serious. He says the city takes these accusations with the utmost gravity. He says he will open an immediate investigation. Seo asks for a timeline. The Lord says these things require careful review. He says perhaps 6 weeks, maybe 8. Tae-ho's jaw tightens. He knows what 8 weeks means. It's 8 weeks for Yang to bury witnesses and burn documents. The Lord promises a thorough inquiry and excuses himself for a prior engagement. The door clicks shut. They stand in the marble room with nothing but false promises and the smell of cologne. Subin asks if that's it.
Tae-ho's face is stone.
He says Yang got to the Lord's office first. He says the fix is in. Tae-ho pockets the recording stone. It's still warm.
Our boy says they expected this.
He says they just needed to confirm who stands where. Now they know. Seo asks what the next move is.
Tae-ho is quiet for a long moment.
Then he says one word: tournament. The Hunter Championship is the biggest event in the kingdom. Every year, hunters from every academy and guild compete in a brutal open bracket. The winner gets a direct audience with the king. And more importantly, the winner's testimony carries the weight of a royal witness. If Tae-ho wins, no city lord can bury his evidence. Yang can't bribe the entire royal court. Subin says it's insane. He says Tae-ho just hit level 10. He says the tournament is full of veterans with decades of experience. Tae-ho says he knows.
He says that's exactly why Yang won't expect him to enter.
So Kyung-hwan stares at the kid. He asks if Tae-ho understands what he's signing up for. The matches are not duels. They're waves of monsters and death matches against hunters who kill for sport. Tae-ho says he understands. He says he's got 3 weeks until registration closes. He spends those 3 weeks in the dungeon. He doesn't sleep in his dorm.
He doesn't attend lectures.
Hyo Subin leaves meals outside the training room door. They disappear by morning. Seo drills him harder than ever. Night after night in the underground chamber. The iron constructs move faster now. Seo activates the advanced protocol. 3 constructs at once, then 4. Tae-ho's agility boost fires so often his muscles scream.
Goblin's cunning prickles non-stop, tracing attack vectors like a spider web of pain.
He learns to read the construct's patterns before the warning even fires. Mana recovery stitches him back together between rounds.
Tae-ho doesn't let him sit.
1 minute of rest. Then again. The old man says the tournament doesn't offer breathers. Our boy stops counting the bruises. His sharp claws stay extended halfway through every drill. The keratin is longer now, harder. He can carve through the construct's iron plating like it's clay. Seo notices. He says the passive is mutating. Tae-ho just grins.
It's not a nice grin.
Yang Jin-sung receives the tournament roster 3 days before the opening ceremony. He's in his private office with a glass of amber liquor. His assistant hands him the list. Yang scans the names. Dozens of hopeful idiots.
Then his eyes stop.
Tae-ho, Common Herbalist, Academy of the Eastern Ward. The glass shatters against the wall. Yang screams for his assistant to explain how this happened. The assistant stammers that Tae-ho registered independently. No guild affiliation.
No academy endorsement.
Yang can't block an independent registration. The guildmaster's face twists. He says the boy wants to die publicly.
He says fine.
He tells the assistant to register him as well. The assistant freezes. Yang Jin-sung hasn't participated in the championship in 15 years. He's a guildmaster. He doesn't need to prove anything. But Yang says the boy backed him into a corner. He can't afford to let Tae-ho win a single match. If the brat gets a royal audience, Yang's entire house of cards collapses. So Yang will enter, and he will carve Tae-ho out of the bracket personally. The assistant writes the registration with trembling fingers. The tournament opens in the capital's Grand Coliseum. The arena is a mile-wide circle of enchanted stone. The stands hold 50,000 spectators. Royal banners snap in the wind. King's Herald announces the start of the Hunter Championship. The preliminary round is simple. Survive 10 minutes against a monster wave. Hunters who fall are disqualified. Hunters who kill the most monsters advance with a seed advantage. Tae-ho stands in the competitor's tunnel. The tunnel is dark and smells of old blood. Hunters around him wear gleaming armor and carry enchanted weapons. Our boy wears Academy standard leather and a short sword. Someone in the tunnel laughs. A big hunter in plate armor points at Tae-ho's chest. He asks if the kid got lost on his way to the library. Tae-ho doesn't answer. The gate opens. Blinding light floods the tunnel. Tae-ho walks into the arena and the crowd barely notices. They're watching the hunter in the next lane summon a lightning spear. Show-offs. The horn sounds. The arena floor cracks open in 100 places. Sand erupts. Monsters pour out of the fissures. Giant scorpions. Each one is the size of a horse. Their carapaces are black and glistening. Their tails curve overhead with stingers dripping green venom. 24 of them skitter toward Tae-ho's sector. The crowd roars. Our boy exhales slow. Agility boost fires. He launches sideways as the first stinger stabs the sand where he stood. The impact leaves a smoking crater. That venom melts stone. Bad sign. Tae-ho's goblin's cunning buzzes at the base of his skull. 2 more stingers incoming from behind. He drops flat. Stingers cross above him like scissors. He rolls and slashes upward with sharp claws. The keratin rips through the joint of one scorpion's tail. The tail drops, still twitching. The crowd notices now. Someone in the front row shouts,
A scorpion rushes him from the left. Its pincers snap. Tae-ho vaults over it using agility boost. He lands on its back and claws through the base of its skull. The scorpion shudders and collapses. One down. The system pings. System notification. Defeated giant scorpion. Unique talent activating. Select passive to copy. Tae-ho doesn't even read the list. He knows what he wants. Carapace armor. The passive floods his body. His skin darkens. A lattice of black chitin spreads across his arms and chest. It's not full armor, but it's tough enough to turn a blade. The next scorpion stinger slams into his shoulder. The chitin holds. The stinger skids off with a screech. Our boy grins. Now he's in business. He wades into the wave. Carapace armor soaks hits that would have broken bone. Sharp claws shear through legs and tails. Agility boost makes him a ghost. Every time a scorpion lunges, he's already behind it. He carves through them one after another. The venom pools on the sand but doesn't touch his skin. Goblin's cunning traces each attack before it launches. The scorpions slow down. 5 of them circle him now. They're learning. They attack in sequence. First from the left, then the right, then the tail at his back. Tae-ho lets them coordinate. He waits for the exact moment the first one commits. He sidesteps. The scorpion crashes into its ally. Toxic breath exhales from his lungs in a tight green cone. The vapor blankets the tangled monsters. Their carapaces soften instantly. Their movements turn sluggish. He leaps into the cloud. Claws flash. 3 scorpions drop in 4 seconds. The last 2 try to flee. He doesn't let them. He chases them down and tears through their backs. The sand is littered with black husks. The horn sounds. Preliminary round over. Tae-ho stands in a ring of dead scorpions. His chest heaves. His carapace armor is cracked in 3 places. Blood drips from a gash on his forearm, but he's alive. The crowd is silent for a heartbeat. Then they erupt. 50,000 people screaming his name. The announcer's voice booms over the Coliseum. He says the unknown hunter from the Eastern Ward has just posted the highest kill count of the preliminaries, 23 scorpions. The previous record was 17. Tae-ho wipes his claws on his tunic and walks toward the exit. Big hunter in plate armor who laughed at him in the tunnel is being carried out on a stretcher. Our boy doesn't even look at him. Up in the VIP box, Yang Jin-sung watches. His knuckles are white on the railing. The assistant beside him is sweating through his collar. Yang says nothing, but the look on his face is pure murder. Tae-ho is not just surviving, he's climbing. And in 3 days, the bracket will bring them face to face. Yang turns from the window. He tells his assistant to prepare the blade storm. Every technique, every forbidden art. He says there will be no judges, no referee. The final match will be an execution. He doesn't care who's watching. Tae-ho limps into the competitor's tunnel. The dark is cool. His carapace armor retracts as the passive settles into his system. He now has slime body, agility boost, night vision, mana recovery, sharp claws, goblin's cunning, marsh camouflage, toxic breath, and carapace armor. 9 passives. That's nearly double the limit anyone knows. He checks his status window. The gold edges pulse. No new text, just a silent confirmation that his unique talent is still rewriting every rule. Seo Kyung-hwan meets him at the tunnel's far end. The old man doesn't smile. He says the kid got sloppy with the 3rd scorpion. Tae-ho laughs. It hurts. Seo says Yang just registered for the bracket. The old man says the guildmaster is coming for him. Not through proxies, not through traps. Face to face in the arena. Tae-ho's grin fades. He says good. He says that's exactly what he wanted. Seo asks if he's ready. Tae-ho looks at the cracked chitin plates on his forearms. He thinks about the 9 passives humming under his skin. He thinks about the recording stone in his pocket. He thinks about Subin's financial records and Shim Eun-jung waiting to testify. He says he'll be ready. The old man studies him. Then he nods. He says rest tonight. Tomorrow the elimination rounds begin, and the day after that, the final bracket will pit hunter against hunter. He says if Tae-ho reaches the final, Yang will be waiting. And Yang Jin-sung is a level 47 veteran with 2 decades of combat experience. Tae-ho is level 10. Seo asks if the boy still thinks this is a good plan. Tae-ho says no. He says it's a terrible plan, and he walks out of the tunnel into the night. The elimination bracket lights up on the Coliseum board. Tae-ho's name flashes next to Kwon Hae-sung, the summoner, level 22. He walks into the arena wearing robes stitched with flame-resistant thread. His opponent is already waiting in the center. Kwon Hae-sung is a thin man with burn scars up both forearms. He's got a summoning stone the size of a fist glowing orange in his palm. The crowd murmurs. This guy made it through the preliminaries by letting his golem do all the work. He didn't even get dirt on his robes. The announcer calls the match. Kwon slams the summoning stone into the sand. A pillar of fire erupts 20 feet high. When the flames collapse, a fire golem stands in the crater. It's 9 feet tall.
Its body is cracked obsidian with magma bleeding through the seams. Every breath it takes vents steam from its chest. The heat hits Tae-ho from 40 feet away. Our boy doesn't flinch. He's already running. Agility boost fires. He closes the gap in 3 seconds. The golem swings a fist the size of a boulder. Tae-ho slides under it. The sand where he stood turns to glass. He slashes with sharp claws across the golem's knee joint. The keratin screeches against obsidian. Sparks fly. A scratch. That's all he gets. The golem's other hand backhands him across the arena floor. Carapace armor absorbs most of it. Tae-ho still skids 30 feet and tastes copper. He pushes up onto one knee. Kwon laughs from the far end of the arena. He tells the kid to stay down. He says his golem has crushed hunters twice Tae-ho's level. Our boy spits blood into the sand. He stands back up. Goblin's cunning traces the golem's attack rhythm. Right fist, left fist, stomp, vent steam, repeat. There's a 2-second delay after every vent where the magma inside recalibrates. Tae-ho waits for the next steam burst. The golem's chest opens. Vapor screams out. Tae-ho moves. He sprints straight at the golem's legs. At the last second, he drops and slides between them. He's under the thing now. Sharp claws dig upward into the seam where its pelvis meets its spine. The obsidian is thinner there. His claws punch through. Magma sprays across his forearm. Carapace armor sizzles. He rips sideways. The golem staggers. Its left leg locks up. Tae-ho scrambles out before it collapses. The golem crashes onto one knee. Kwon stops laughing. He starts shouting commands. The golem tries to rise. Its leg won't respond. Tae-ho is already on its back. He drives both claws into the base of its skull. The obsidian cracks. He does it again and again. On the 5th strike, the golem's head comes off. The summoning stone in Kwon's hand shatters. The golem crumbles into black slag. Kwon stares at the broken stone. His face goes white. He raises his hands and forfeits before Tae-ho takes another step. The crowd loses its mind. Our boy walks out of the arena with his forearm still smoking. Seo meets him at the tunnel. He tosses Tae-ho a water skin. He says the kid's getting faster. Tae-ho pours water over the burn and doesn't answer. His eyes are already on the board. Yang Jin-sung's match is next. The arena floor is swept clean for the guildmaster. Yang Jin-sung walks out without a weapon. No helmet, no armor, just his guild tunic and 2 bare hands. His opponent is a spearman named Baek Do-yoon, level 31. Former military, 2 tournament finals under his belt. Baek plants his spear and asks if Yang forgot his sword. Yang doesn't answer. The announcer calls the match. Baek charges. His spear blurs through 3 thrusts aimed at throat, heart, and groin. Professional. Fast. Lethal. Yang moves 6 inches. That's all. 6 inches to the left, then the right, then back. Every thrust misses by a hair. Baek resets and activates his spear art. Wind coils around the blade. He unleashes a cyclone thrust meant to punch through plate armor. Yang raises one hand. He says one word. The blade storm ignites. 24 spectral swords materialize around him in a spinning ring. They're translucent blue and humming with mana. Baek's cyclone thrust hits the ring and shatters. The spearman stares at his broken weapon. Then the blades move. They don't slash. They swarm. Every sword becomes a streak of light. Baek screams for 3 seconds. Then he doesn't. When the light fades, the spearman is on the ground. His armor is in ribbons. His body is covered in shallow cuts, none of them lethal. Yang left him alive on purpose. The guildmaster walks to the edge of the arena and looks directly at the competitor's tunnel. He knows Tae-ho is watching. He smiles. It's the smile of a man who has already decided how this ends. He walks out without waiting for the announcer. The medical team rushes Baek off the field. The crowd is stunned, silent. Then the murmuring starts. Everybody just saw what's waiting for Tae-ho in the final. A level 47 veteran with a forbidden art that didn't even make him sweat. Our boy is still in the tunnel. He watched every second. Goblin's cunning is screaming at the base of his skull. Every instinct he has is telling him that man is a predator, and Tae-ho is the prey. He exhales. He says he's seen worse. Seo doesn't look convinced. The bracket advances. Tae-ho's next match is posted. The name on the board is Gu Ji-tae. Seo goes still. He asks if Tae-ho knows that name. Our boy shakes his head. Seo says Gu Ji-tae is a shadow hunter, one of Yang's personal enforcers. He wasn't on the tournament roster this morning. Someone pulled strings to slot him in. Tae-ho looks at the board. He says Yang is trying to soften him up before the final. Seo agrees. He says Ji-tae is an assassin, not a duelist. He won't fight fair. Tae-ho tightens the wraps on his forearms. He says neither will he. The match is set for sundown. Tae-ho spends the next 3 hours sitting in the tunnel with his back against cold stone. Mana recovery knits the burns on his arm. The carapace armor cracks seal over.
His breathing slows. Every passive in his body hums at low power, waiting. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't eat. He just watches the shadows lengthen. When the horn sounds, his eyes open. The arena is lit by torches when he walks out. The sand is cold. Gu Jitae is already there.
The man wears a hood. His face is half visible, pale skin. Black veins crawling up his neck from some forbidden technique. He's level 29. His class is officially Assassin. Unofficially, he's Yang's executioner. The announcer barely finishes before Jitae moves. He doesn't run. He sinks into his own shadow. The man literally melts into the darkness on the sand. The crowd gasps. Tae-ho activates night vision. Everything sharpens. The shadows become gray mist. But Jitae isn't in any of them. Goblin's cunning screams. Tae-ho spins. Blade comes out of the shadow at his feet. It slashes across his ribs. Carapace armor catches it. But the chitin cracks. Tae-ho backpedals. Jitae rises from the shadow like a man climbing out of water. His hood falls back. His eyes are solid black. No whites. No pupils. Just two pits leaking dark smoke. He grins. His teeth are filed to points. He says the guildmaster sends his regards. Then he sinks back into the dark. Tae-ho stands in the center of the arena, 9 passives humming under his skin, against an enemy he can't see. An enemy who can strike from anywhere. He closes his eyes. He lets Goblin's cunning trace the threads of hostile intent. The arena becomes a spiderweb of pain. Every thread is a threat. Most of them are the crowd. 50,000 people with adrenaline and bloodlust. But one thread is different. It's cold, and it's moving, fast, under the sand. Tae-ho drops. The blade passes through the air where his neck just was. He rolls and slashes downward with sharp claws. The keratin digs into something solid. Jitae screams. Blood sprays across the sand. The assassin rises halfway out of the shadow. Tae-ho's claws caught his forearm. 3 deep gashes. Jitae's black eyes widen. He wasn't expecting the kid to land a hit. He sinks again. Tae-ho doesn't wait for the next attack. He inhales. Toxic breath exhales in a green cone across the sand. The vapor seeps into every shadow, every crack, every dark place Jitae could hide. The assassin bursts out of the ground coughing. His shadow walking requires pure darkness. Toxic breath isn't just corrosive, it's mana-infused vapor. It scatters the shadows like light. Jitae is exposed. He drops the stealth and charges. 2 daggers appear in his hand. They're coated in something black and oily. Tae-ho meets him head-on. Claws against daggers. Carapace armor against poison. They trade 4 strikes in 2 seconds. Jitae is faster, but Tae-ho is tougher. The assassin's dagger slides off the black chitin on his chest. Tae-ho's claw punches through Jitae's shoulder. The assassin screams. He throws a smoke bomb at his own feet. Black fog erupts. Jitae uses the cover to disengage. He's bleeding from 3 wounds now. His breathing is ragged. He pulls a small vial from his belt. It's filled with something that pulses black and red. He unstoppers it. He drinks. His veins go fully black. His muscles swell. His level ticks up. 30, 31, 32. Yang gave him a forbidden elixir. The same stuff that turns men into monsters. Jitae laughs. His voice is deeper now. Guttural. He says he'll tear Tae-ho apart and deliver the pieces to Yang personally. Our boy watches the transformation. He doesn't run. He doesn't panic. He just watches. Goblin's cunning traces the new threat signature. Jitae is stronger now, faster, but the elixir made him reckless. His attack patterns are gone. He's just a beast. Tae-ho knows beasts. He's killed dozens of them. Jitae lunges. No stealth, no technique, just raw speed and claws. Tae-ho sidesteps. The assassin's claws shear through the air. Tae-ho hooks his foot behind Jitae's ankle and shoves. The assassin stumbles. Tae-ho is already behind him. Sharp claws drive into his spine. The keratin punches through vertebra. Jitae drops. His body convulses. The black veins in his neck pulse once, then go still. The system pings. System notification. Hunter Gu Jitae defeated. Unique talent activating. New passive available. Tae-ho stares at the golden-edged window. He's never seen it offer a passive from a human before. But Jitae wasn't fully human anymore. The elixir turned him into something else. The system offers one option, Shadow Step. Tae-ho selects it. Passive floods his body like ice water. His shadow darkens. It stretches. It moves independently of the torchlight. For the first time, Tae-ho feels the dark as a doorway. Not a threat, a path. He stands over Jitae's body. The crowd is silent. 50,000 people just watched a level 10 hunter kill Yang Jin-sung's personal assassin. Tae-ho looks up at the VIP box. Yang is standing at the railing. His expression is unreadable, but his knuckles are white. He turns and walks out of the box. Tae-ho's legs give out. The adrenaline crashes. Mana recovery surges through his system. But he's done.
The medical team rushes onto the sand. Tae-ho is right behind them.
He catches Tae-ho before he hits the ground.
The old man says nothing. He just lifts the kid and carries him toward the tunnel. Behind them, the arena crew drags Jitae's body off the sand. The crowd starts to murmur. Then they start to chant, Tae-ho! Tae-ho! Tae-ho!
Our boy doesn't hear any of it.
He's already unconscious. The medical tent is lit by a single mana lamp. Tae-ho wakes up on a cot with bandages wrapped around his ribs. His forearm is stitched. His carapace armor is retracted. Every muscle in his body screams, but he's alive. Subin is there. His friend is holding a bowl of soup and looks like he hasn't slept in 3 days.
He says Tae-ho is an idiot. He says he's the most suicidal idiot he's ever met.
Then he shoves the soup into Tae-ho's hands and tells him to eat.
Tae-ho manages half the bowl before his stomach protests.
Seo is standing in the corner of the tent. His arms are crossed. His face is stone.
He says the final is in 12 hours.
He says Yang Jin-sung is already in the arena preparing. He says the guildmaster hasn't left the Colosseum since Ji-tae died. Tae-ho sets the bowl down. He asks if the crowd saw what he did. Seo says yes.
Everyone saw.
A common herbalist just killed a level 29 assassin boosted by forbidden elixir. The story is already spreading across the capital. Tae-ho nods. He says good. He says that means Yang can't back out now. If he does, he looks weak. If he wins, he killed an exhausted kid half his level. If he loses, his entire guild crumbles. Seo says Yang doesn't plan to lose.
He's been seen meditating in the arena for hours.
His blade storm is primed. His body is at peak condition, and he's furious.
Tae-ho swings his legs off the cot.
He stands up. His body protests. He ignores it. He says he needs to check something. He walks to the edge of the tent and looks at his shadow. It moves wrong. It stretches toward the dark outside the lamp's glow. It wants to go somewhere. Tae-ho takes a step into the dark corner of the tent, and he sinks. Just an inch. Just for a heartbeat. But he feels the shadow fold around him like cold water. He steps back out. His eyes are wide. Subin drops the soup bowl. Seo uncrosses his arms. The old man asks what that was. Tae-ho looks at his hands, his shadow hands, the darkness clinging to his fingers. He says it's a new passive.
He says he copied it from Ji-tae.
Seo is silent for a long moment. Then he says, the kid just became the most dangerous hunter in the tournament.
Tae-ho looks at the tent flap.
Beyond it, the Colosseum glows with torchlight. The final match is waiting. Yang Jin-sung is waiting. 12 hours. 9 passives. 1 new shadow in his veins. He says he'll be ready. 12 hours bleed away in the medical tent. The Colosseum wakes up screaming. Sunlight hits the sand like a hammer. The stands are packed shoulder to shoulder. 50,000 people have come to watch the final. Our boy steps out of the eastern tunnel. His arm is stitched. His ribs are wrapped, but his eyes are cold and bright. He doesn't limp, doesn't look at the crowd. He walks straight to the center of the arena. Yang Jin-sung is already there. The guildmaster hasn't moved in hours. He's been meditating in the exact center of the sand. His robes are spotless. His blade rests across his knees. Mana pools around him like heat haze. He looks up. A smile splits his face. It's not a nice smile. The announcer's voice booms across the arena. The match is a single elimination duel. No time limit. No surrender. Yang rises. His blade comes up in one fluid motion. The crowd goes dead silent. Tae-ho doesn't draw a weapon. He just flexes his fingers, and his chitin claws slide out of his forearms. Yang's smile wavers. He knows those claws. They killed his personal assassin yesterday. The announcer drops his hand. The match begins. Yang doesn't wait. Blade storm erupts. 24 spectral swords explode outward in a spinning ring. They're translucent blue. They hum like a swarm of hornets. The first wave shoots straight at Tae-ho's chest. Our boy moves. Agility boost fires through his legs. He becomes a blur. 3 swords miss by a hair. 4 more shear through the space he just left. 1 clips his shoulder. Carapace armor catches it. The chitin cracks but holds. Tae-ho feels the impact like a hammer. Goblin's cunning is screaming. It traces every sword path. It paints a spider web of threat vectors in his mind. He sees the pattern. There's a half-second gap in the rotation. He uses it. He drops into a sprint. Not away, straight at Yang. The guildmaster's eyes widen. He yanks 3 swords back for a point-blank shot. They converge on Tae-ho from 3 angles. No way to dodge. Tae-ho sinks. His shadow yawns open beneath him, and he drops through it. Shadow Step swallows him whole. He vanishes into the dark. For a heartbeat, maybe 2. Then he steps out of the shadow directly behind Yang. The crowd gasps. Tae-ho's claws are already swinging. They rake across Yang's back. The guildmaster's mana barrier flares. It absorbs most of the damage, but not all of it. 3 lines of red bloom through the silk robe. Yang spins. His blade comes around in a screaming arc. Tae-ho ducks. The edge shaves a strip of hair off his head. He lashes out with a low kick. Yang jumps. He's fast. Even at 47 levels, he's fast. He lands 6 feet away. Blood drips down his back. His smile is gone. Tae-ho watches from his crouch. He's breathing hard. Mana recovery is already stitching him back together. But the burn in his ribs is a hot knife. Yang raises his free hand. A second blade storm begins to form. This one is tighter. Only 9 swords, but each one glows brighter. He's compressing them. The announcer's booth is screaming. Nobody is listening. Yang hurls the condensed storm. Tae-ho doesn't try to dodge this time. He steps into it. Sharp claws come up. He parries the first sword. The impact numbs his arm. He parries the second, the third. His arm is a blur. Carapace armor spreads over his knuckles. He punches through the fourth. The fifth catches his thigh. Blood sprays. He doesn't stop. He's inside the storm now. Yang's eyes go wide. Tae-ho grabs the guildmaster's blade arm. He wrenches it sideways. Then he drives his forehead into Yang's nose. Cartilage crunches. Yang staggers. The remaining swords flicker. Tae-ho follows with a knee to the ribs, then a clawed uppercut. Yang's chin snaps back. He hits the sand hard. His blade skids away. The crowd is on its feet. Yang Jin-sung is on his back, blood streaming from his nose. His robe is shredded. His mana is flickering, but he's not done. He rolls to his hands and knees. His fingers claw at his chest. He tears a pendant from around his neck. It's black stone veined with pulsing red. He looks up at Tae-ho. He smiles through the blood. The announcer is shouting something about disqualification. Nobody cares. Yang shatters the pendant. The sound is wrong. It doesn't crack like stone. It screams like a living thing. A shockwave of heat blasts outward. Tae-ho is thrown backward. He hits the sand and rolls. The sky above the arena turns red. A rift tears open in the center of the Colosseum. It's not a gate. It's a wound. Sulfur and ash pour out. The temperature spikes 30 degrees. The rift widens, and something steps through. The Hellfire General. 10 feet of obsidian armor. Horns like twisted furnace pipes. Its eyes are pits of molten gold. A blade of compressed flame shimmers in its grip. Every torch in the arena gutters. Every banner catches fire. The stands erupt in panic. People trample each other to get to the exits. The demon raises its head. It roars. The sound is a physical thing. It crushes the sand into glass. Tae-ho is on his knees. His ears are bleeding. Yang is laughing. He's still on the ground. His voice is a wet rasp. He says the deal was simple. If he dies, the demon gets everyone in the arena. He doesn't care anymore. The Hellfire General swings its blade. A crescent of fire screams across the sand. Tae-ho dives. The flame passes over him. The heat sears his back. Carapace armor chars black. He skids to a stop. The demon is advancing. Its footsteps shake the ground. It swings again. Another wave of fire. Tae-ho runs. Agility boost fires. He sprints toward the edge of the arena. The fire chases him. It catches the barrier wall. The enchanted stone cracks. The demon doesn't slow. It raises its blade high. Fire gathers along the edge. A pillar of flame erupts into the sky. Then the blade comes down. It slams into the sand. A shockwave of fire ripples outward. Everything in a 100-foot radius ignites. Tae-ho throws himself behind a fallen pillar. The stone glows red. He hears the screams from the stands. He can't think about that. He needs a plan. Goblin's cunning is firing on all cylinders. It traces the flow of heat. It maps the pattern of the flames, and it finds a gap. The demon's fire radiates outward in a circle. But there's a dead zone. The center of the arena, where the water fountain stands. The fountain is 20 feet across. A basin of carved granite. Water still splashes from the mouth of a stone griffin. It's been part of the Colosseum for 300 years. Our boy sees his angle. He breaks cover. Agility boost screams. He crosses the arena in 4 seconds. The demon sees him. It pivots. Another crescent of flame. Tae-ho vaults. He clears the blast. He hits the edge of the fountain. He lands on the stone lip. The water is cool against his burned skin. The demon is charging now. Full speed. Its blade is raised. Fire gathers along its whole body. Tae-ho doesn't move. He waits. He watches the gap close. 200 feet. 150. He inhales. Deep. His chest expands. The glands in his throat open. Ambient mana floods into his lungs. He exhales. Toxic breath floods the fountain. A tight green cone of corrosive vapor. It hits the water. The water doesn't just boil. It transforms. The mana in the breath reacts with the element. The entire basin becomes a cloud of acidic steam. It's thick. It's green. It's poison. The demon charges straight into it. The steam envelops the Hellfire General. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then a screech. Not a roar, a screech. The steam clings to the fire. It doesn't extinguish it. It eats it. The acid in the vapor corrodes the demon's fiery armor. The flame blade flickers. The obsidian plates crack. Molten light bleeds out. The demon stumbles. Its steps become unsteady. The steam rises higher. It fills the arena's center like a roiling wall. Tae-ho is still exhaling. Every last wisp of toxic breath pours into the cloud. His lungs burn. His vision swims. Mana recovery is working overtime. He holds. The Hellfire General drops to one knee. Its blade shatters into embers. Its eye fires dim. The steam has turned the air into a corrosive soup. The demon is drowning in it. Tae-ho finally stops. He gasps for breath. The cloud settles. The arena is silent except for the hiss of acid on stone. The demon is still alive. Weak, but alive. It raises its head. Its molten eyes meet Tae-ho's, and our boy's hands glow with sharp claws. He steps off the fountain. One step. He's ready. The demon's molten eyes flicker. Tae-ho doesn't hesitate. Sharp claws gleam like 10 hooked blades. He lunges. One step turns into a full sprint. Goblin's cunning traces the exact path through the steam. The Hellfire General is still on its knees. Its obsidian chest plates are cracked and hissing. The acid vapor ate deep into the seams. A gray-green sludge drips from every joint. The beast tries to raise an arm. It's too slow. Tae-ho slides beneath the reach. He buries both claws into the crack in the armor. Right at the sternum, he drives upward. The demon screams. It's a wet, tearing sound. The armor gives way like rotted leather. Tae-ho's hands punch into the furnace of its core. The heat is blinding. Carapace armor darkens and thickens. It holds just long enough. Our boy rips outward. The Hellfire General splits open. A column of molten light and ash erupts from its chest. The force throws Tae-ho backward. He hits the sand hard. His ears are ringing. The demon is still for one heartbeat, then it shatters. Chunks of obsidian and ember rain across the arena. The rift above twists and snaps shut. The sky returns to a dull, overcast gray. All that fire is gone. The crowd is stunned, silent. Yang lies near the fountain. His body is a broken mess. The pendant shards around him have stopped pulsing. His eyes are open and fixed on nothing. He's done. The bastard paid for his deal in full. A system window blinks in front of Tae-ho's face. Gold edges shimmer. Condition satisfied. Monster defeated. Unique talent activates. Passive skill available for copy. Hellfire immunity. Tae-ho can barely lift his head to read it. He croaks out a yes. His throat is raw from the toxic breath. The window pulses once. The new passive settles into his body. His skin burns cold for a moment. Then a deep heat spreads through his core. It's not painful. It's like swallowing sunlight. His charred carapace armor recedes. Skin beneath it is raw, but no longer blistering. He feels the ambient warmth of the cooling sand and it doesn't hurt. Hellfire itself won't even make him sweat now. Mana recovery kicks in. Soft blue-green threads stitch through his torn muscles. It's slow. His reserves are nearly empty. The passive claws at whatever ambient mana it can find. It's not enough. His vision swims. The world tilts. He hears footsteps thundering across the sand. Hyo Subin's voice is screaming his name. Seo Kyunghwan is shouting for medics. Tae-ho tries to raise a hand. Can't. He blacks out before his arm hits the ground. 3 days pass. Tae-ho wakes to the smell of antiseptic and fresh linen. The ceiling is white stone with a healing ward carved into it. Soft blue light pulses every few seconds. He's in the Royal Medical Ward. His body is wrapped in bandages from waist to shoulder. A rib splint presses against his side. The cracked ribs from the scorpions are still mending, but he's alive. Our boy turns his head. Hyo Subin is asleep in a chair. There's a half-eaten rice ball in his lap. The idiot stayed the whole time. Tae-ho's lips twitch. Seo Kyunghwan is standing by the window. He notices Tae-ho is awake. He doesn't say anything for a long moment. Then he just nods. That's all. The old man's eyes are wet. Tae-ho's throat is too dry to speak. Subin jerks awake. He sees Tae-ho's eyes open. He bursts into tears. He tries to hug him and almost pulls out the IV line. A healer rushes in. The next few hours are a blur of checks and potions. Tae-ho's stats are stable. His passives are all intact. The Hellfire immunity has fully integrated. A minor scan shows his body now registers fire-type mana as harmless. Heat doesn't even register as pain anymore. He's not invincible, but a dragon's breath wouldn't blister him. The tournament officials release a statement. Yang Jin-sung is declared dead. His corruption is exposed within days. The recording stone and Shim Eun-jung's testimony hit the guild like a bomb. The king himself orders a full audit. Lord Ju Sung-ho suddenly becomes very interested in justice. Funny how that works. 5 days after the final, Tae-ho is summoned to the throne room. He walks in, still bandaged, but he walks on his own 2 feet. Subin and So flank him. The hall is massive. 10 pillars of white marble, a throne carved from a single block of obsidian. King Jae-sun is an older man with a trimmed gray beard. His eyes are sharp. He doesn't waste time with ceremony. He says the kingdom owes Tae-ho a debt. A common herbalist exposed a rot at the top of the Hunter Guild. He also saved thousands in the arena from a demon. The king produces a medal. It's a small thing, silver with a dragon coiled around a star. The Order of the Burning Shield, highest civilian honor in the realm. Tae-ho bows his head. The king pins it to his hospital robe. It looks absurd against the white linen. Our boy doesn't care. He earned it. The king asks if he has a request. Tae-ho asks only for the investigation to finish. The king nods. He says the guild will be restructured. New leadership will be appointed from outside Yang's inner circle. Tae-ho's name is cleared. His debt from the old scam is wiped. He's also granted access to the Royal Dungeon archives. That's huge. He can study high-level monster profiles. Seo Kyung-hwan's expression tightens with pride. Subin looks like he might faint. Tae-ho thanks the king. He doesn't ask for money. He doesn't ask for a title. Our boy just wants to keep hunting. The ceremony ends. They're walking back through the palace gardens. Tae-ho is leaning on Subin a little. His ribs ache, but he feels lighter than he has in years. Then a messenger steps out from the hedgerow. He's wearing dark leather. No kingdom insignia. His face is blank. He holds out an envelope sealed with black wax. The seal is a fist clutching a broken sword. Tae-ho's name is written on the front in blood-red ink. Subin tries to step in front. Tae-ho stops him. He takes the letter. The messenger leaves without a word. Our boy breaks the seal. Inside is a single sheet of parchment. The words are burned into the paper. A challenge to the death. Signed by Hwang Sok-jun. The name hits like a fist. Seo Kyung-hwan goes pale. He grabs the letter and reads it twice. His hands tremble. Tae-ho asks who the hell this is. So's voice is low. He says Hwang Sok-jun is the real monster behind Yang's rise. A hunter who disappeared 10 years ago. Everyone thought he was dead. He was Yang's original sponsor, the one who taught him the forbidden arts. Seo says the man is a level 55 Void Knight. His passives are unknown, but rumor says he once killed a dungeon boss with a single touch. Tae-ho stares at the letter. The challenge is to meet him in a sealed dungeon north of the city. In 1 month. If Tae-ho refuses, Sok-jun threatens to kill everyone who ever helped him, starting with Subin, then Seo, then the survivors from the Worm Party. He lists their names. Tae-ho's jaw tightens. He crushes the letter in his fist. Guess what he does next? He looks at Seo. He says he'll be ready in a month. Seo doesn't argue. He just nods. The old man's face is grim. But he knows our boy. He knows there's no stopping this now. Tae-ho turns and limps back toward the medical ward. He's already planning. 1 month to prepare. 1 month to hunt the deadliest creatures in the kingdom. And one man waiting at the end who makes Yang look like a warm-up. The next morning, our boy is already gone from the medical ward. Bandages still wrapped around his ribs. He leaves a note for Subin. Gone hunting. The idiot probably cries when he reads it. Tae-ho limps straight to the Royal Dungeon archives. The building is a fortress of black iron and silence. Inside, shelves stretch 40 feet high. Scrolls and leather-bound bestiaries fill every inch. A clerk tries to stop him. Then she sees the medal still pinned to his robe. She steps aside real quick. Tae-ho spends 3 days in those archives. He barely sleeps. He studies monster profiles that would make a veteran hunter sweat. Desert worm, frost giant, shadow wraith matriarch, stone gargoyle alpha. He maps their territories on a worn parchment. He notes every passive they carry, every weakness buried in the footnotes. His eyes are bloodshot by day 3. He doesn't care. He's got a month and a death sentence hanging over his friends. The first hunt takes him to the Serpent Dunes, a wasteland of rolling sand and cracked earth 2 days north of the capital. The heat is brutal. Dry wind scrapes at his bandages. Tae-ho stands at the edge of a dune field. Somewhere beneath the sand, a desert worm is waiting. Bestiary said these things are 60 feet long. Their scales are the color of rusted iron. They sense vibrations from a mile away, and they swallow their prey whole. Tae-ho ties a cloth around his mouth. He checks his passives. Man recovery is humming. His ribs still ache, but they'll hold. He steps onto the sand. Nothing happens for 20 minutes. He walks slow, deliberate. Then he stops. The sand 300 feet ahead shivers. A ripple. Then the whole dune collapses. The worm erupts. It's bigger than the matriarch from the marsh. Its body is a freight train of muscle and iron scales. Sand sprays in every direction. The thing doesn't roar. It just opens its mouth. The gullet is wide enough to swallow a carriage. Tae-ho activates agility boost. He sprints left. The worm dives. The impact shakes the ground like an earthquake. Sand explodes where Tae-ho stood half a second ago. He rolls, comes up running.
The worm is fast. Too fast for something that size. It tunnels, then erupts again, trying to cut him off. Tae-ho uses Goblin's cunning. The spiderweb of pain laces through his skull. It traces the worm's angle. He jukes right at the last second. The beast's jaw snaps shut on empty air. Our boy vaults onto its head. Sharp claws dig into the iron scales. He climbs toward the eyes. The worm thrashes. It rolls, trying to crush him beneath its bulk. Tae-ho hangs on. His ribs scream. The bandages tear. He doesn't let go. He reaches the eye socket. The orb is the size of a dinner plate. He drives both claws into it. The worm shrieks. It convulses, slamming its head into the sand. Tae-ho is thrown 40 feet. He hits the dune hard, but the worm is blind now. It thrashes blindly, sand flying everywhere. Tae-ho pushes himself up. Blood seeps through his bandages. He limps forward. The worm senses him. It lunges. He steps aside. This time it's slow, exhausted. Tae-ho opens his mouth. Toxic breath. The green vapor floods the worm's open wound. It pours into the eye socket. The beast convulses once, twice, then it goes still. The system window flickers. Unique talent activates. Passive available. Sand camouflage. Tae-ho accepts it. His skin prickles. The new passive settles into his bones. It lets him blend into sand and stone. Not invisibility, but close enough. He stands over the dead worm. 13 days left. He's got one more stop, the Frozen Spine Mountains. It takes him 4 days to reach the northern pass. The air thins. Snow falls in thick curtains. Tae-ho's breath fogs. But Hellfire immunity keeps his core temperature stable. The cold doesn't touch him. The altitude does, though. His lungs burn with every step. He finds the frost giant at dusk. The thing is 20 feet tall. Skin is pale blue ice, veined with glowing white mana. It carries a club made from a frozen tree trunk. The giant is guarding a cave entrance, probably its den. Tae-ho watches from behind a boulder. He activates sand camouflage. His body shimmers, blending into the stone. The giant doesn't notice him. He circles around. The snow crunches under his boots. The giant's head snaps toward the sound. Tae-ho freezes. The giant stares. Its eyes are pits of frozen light. 10 seconds pass. Then it turns away. Our boy exhales. He reaches the cave mouth. Inside, it's dark and cold. Stalactites hang like teeth from the ceiling. He steps deeper. The giant's treasure is piled against the back wall. Gold coins, rusted weapons, a few mana crystals. Tae-ho isn't here for loot. He's here for the kill. He waits. 3 hours later, the giant returns. It ducks under the cave entrance. The moment it straightens up, Tae-ho activates Shadow Step. He sinks into the darkness pooled beneath a stalactite. The cold folds around him like water. The giant passes right by him. It kneels at the treasure pile. Tae-ho emerges from the shadow behind its ankle. Sharp claws slice through the tendon. The giant roars. It swings the club blind. The blow shatters a stalactite. Fragments rain down. Tae-ho is already moving. He climbs the giant's back. Carapace armor spreads across his chest. The giant slams itself against the cave wall. Tae-ho's ribs crack. The pain is a white-hot spike, but he hangs on. He reaches the neck. The giant's skin is frozen solid. Sharp claws barely penetrate. So Tae-ho switches tactics. He opens his mouth. Toxic breath floods the giant's ear canal. The green vapor seeps into its skull. The giant staggers. It drops the club. Its movements become sluggish, confused. Tae-ho doesn't stop. He keeps exhaling until his lungs are empty. Then he drives his claws into the softened tissue behind the ear. The giant collapses. The cave trembles. Tae-ho rides the body down. System window. Unique talent activates. Passive available. Frost aura. He accepts. The cold floods his veins. It's not painful, it's power. His skin glows faint blue. The temperature around him drops 10 degrees. Frost forms on the cave walls. Tae-ho stands over the dead giant. His broken ribs throb. His mana reserves are nearly drained, but he's got what he came for. He limps out of the cave. The snow feels like nothing now. 7 days left. He spends them recovering. Subin shoves food at him every few hours. Seo drills him on Seokjun's known techniques. Void Rift, Void Explosion, Touch of Decay. All of them are lethal. All of them have killed hunters stronger than Tae-ho. But Seo doesn't tell him to back out. He just trains him harder. On the final morning, Tae-ho stands at the city's northern gate. He's alone. He wanted it that way. The sealed dungeon is a black scar in the earth a mile outside the walls. It's been there for decades. No one goes in. The door is a slab of obsidian carved with runes that eat the sunlight. Tae-ho's reflection is a smear of shadow. He touches the metal under his tunic. Then he pushes the door open. Inside, the air is wrong. It hums with void energy. The walls are slick black stone, veined with purple light. The corridor stretches into darkness. Tae-ho walks.
His footsteps echo. After 10 minutes, the corridor opens into a vast chamber. The ceiling is lost in shadow. The floor is cracked obsidian. And in the center, sitting on a throne of fused bone, is Hwang Seok-jun. He's older than Tae-ho expected. Gray hair, sharp cheekbones, eyes like pits of ink. He wears black plate armor that drinks the light. A long sword rests across his knees. The blade is the color of a dead star. Seok-jun smiles. He doesn't stand. He just watches Tae-ho approach. The void energy thickens. It presses against Tae-ho's skin like a living thing. Seok-jun's voice is calm. He asks if this is the boy who killed Yang. Tae-ho doesn't answer. He just keeps walking. The distance between them shrinks. Seok-jun rises. His armor makes no sound. The long sword lifts. Purple energy coils along the blade. He asks if Tae-ho knows what Void Rift does. Tae-ho's heard enough. He activates Agility Boost. He lunges. Seok-jun's sword flicks. Void Rift. The air in front of Tae-ho splits open. A crack in reality 3 feet wide. Inside is absolute nothing. No light, no sound, no matter. Tae-ho uses Shadow Step. He sinks into the darkness at his feet. The rift passes through where his chest was. He emerges 10 feet to the left. His heart is pounding. Seok-jun's smile widens. He says the boy has some tricks. Our boy doesn't waste time. He activates Frost Aura. The temperature in the chamber plummets. Ice forms on the obsidian floor. Seok-jun's movements slow. The frost crawls up his greaves. He looks down at it, almost curious. Then he swings the longsword, not at Tae-ho, at the floor. Void explosion. The obsidian shatters. A shockwave of purple energy erupts outward. Tae-ho crosses his arms. Carapace armor spreads. The wave hits him like a battering ram. He slides back 20 feet. His boots carve grooves in the ice. His ribs scream. But the armor holds. Barely. Seok-jun is already moving. He's fast for an old man. The longsword comes down in an arc. Tae-ho activates Sand Camouflage. His body flickers, blending with the dark stone. Seok-jun's swing cuts through empty air. He pauses. His eyes scan the chamber. Tae-ho circles behind him, silent, closer. He's 5 feet away when Seok-jun spins. The longsword catches him across the chest. Carapace armor cracks. The impact throws Tae-ho into a pillar. He crumples. Blood fills his mouth. Seok-jun walks toward him. The sword trails purple sparks. He asks if this is all the boy has. Tae-ho's vision swims. His passives are screaming. Mana recovery is working overtime, but it's not enough. Not against this. He pushes himself up. His legs shake, but he stands. He meets Seok-jun's dead star eyes. And guess what our boy does? He smiles, because he's got one thing Seok-jun doesn't. He's been the underdog his whole life. This is just another fight. He wipes the blood from his mouth. Frost aura flares. The ice spreads faster now. It climbs Seok-jun's legs, his waist, his chest. The old man's eyes narrow. He raises the sword. The ice is already locking his joints. Tae-ho uses Shadow Step. He vanishes. Seok-jun's sword comes down on empty stone. Tae-ho reappears behind him. His claws are already swinging. He drives them into the gap between Seok-jun's pauldron and helmet. The frost slows the old man's turn. Tae-ho's claws find flesh. Toxic breath floods the wound. Seok-jun screams. It's the first real sound he's made. He swings the sword wild. It catches Tae-ho across the ribs. Something cracks. Tae-ho hits the ground. Blood pools beneath him. But Seok-jun is staggering. The green vapor is spreading through his veins. His movements are jerky. The void energy around him flickers. Tae-ho can't stand, so he crawls, inch by inch. His claws drag across the obsidian. Seok-jun raises the sword for a final blow. The blade hums with void energy. This is it. If it lands, Tae-ho is dead. The sword comes down. The sword comes down. Tae-ho doesn't dodge. He rolls into it. The blade bites into his shoulder instead of his skull. Carapace armor splinters. Bone crunches. But he's already moving. His left hand clamps onto Seok-jun's wrist. Frost aura pours everything it's got into that grip. The old man's sword arm freezes solid. Seok-jun's eyes go wide. The void energy around him stutters. That poison is still chewing through his veins. His movements are half a beat too slow. And our boy? Our boy has been counting those half beats since the fight started. He rips his right arm free. The claws come up. He drives them through the frozen wrist. The hand holding the Dead Star sword separates from the arm. It hits the obsidian floor with a wet crack. The sword clatters beside it. Void energy screams out of the wound in a purple geyser. Seok-jun staggers backward. His mouth opens. No sound comes out. Tae-ho doesn't stop. He kicks the severed hand away. The sword skids into the darkness. Seok-jun's eyes track it. 1 second of distraction. That's all Tae-ho needs. Shadow Step. He sinks into the darkness, pooling at Seok-jun's feet. The old man's remaining hand slaps at the empty air. Void energy crackles around his palm. He's trying to fire off another explosion point blank. Too slow. Tae-ho erupts from the shadow behind him, both claws extended. He buries them into Seok-jun's shoulder blades. Toxic breath floods the wounds directly into the spine. The old man arches backward. His mouth finally works. The scream that comes out is nothing human. It's a wet, gargling roar. The void energy around him goes haywire. Purple lightning bolts crack off his armor. They scorch the walls. They shatter the obsidian floor. One of them catches Tae-ho across the chest. He flies backward. His back hits a pillar. Something inside him snaps. He doesn't know what. He doesn't care. He pushes himself up. His legs are jelly. His left arm won't respond. The shoulder wound is a fountain of red, but he stands. Seok-jun is still screaming. The poison and the frost are fighting for control of his body. Ice crawls up his neck. Green vapor leaks from his eyes. The void energy is eating itself now. It's consuming the only thing left to consume, its master. Seok-jun's remaining hand claws at his own chest. The black armor peels away under his fingers. The skin beneath is gray and cracking. Purple light bleeds through the fissures. He's been using void energy too long, decades of it, and now the poison has given it something new to burn. Tae-ho walks toward him. Each step is a knife in his ribs. Blood drips from his fingertips. His vision narrows to a tunnel, but he walks. Seok-jun's head snaps up. His eyes are gone, just pits of swirling purple. He bares his teeth. They're black now. He lunges. Tae-ho sidesteps. Goblin's cunning has been mapping this man's rhythm since the first swing. The poison has slowed him to a crawl. The frost has locked his joints. The void energy is eating his nervous system. He's not a master duelist anymore. He's a dying animal. Tae-ho catches the lunging arm. He twists. The elbow pops. Seok-jun howls. Tae-ho sweeps his legs. The old man hits the ground on his back. Ice shatters under the impact. Tae-ho drops onto him. One knee on the chest. One hand pinning the throat. The claws hover over Seok-jun's heart. The old man's face twists. The void energy is draining out of him now. The pits of his eyes flicker. For 1 second, he's just an old man again. Gray hair. Sharp cheekbones. Terrified. He asks if this is mercy. Tae-ho doesn't answer. He drives the claws down. They punch through the cracked chest plate. Through the gray skin. Through the ribs. Into the heart. Seok-jun's body goes rigid. The void energy shrieks. A shockwave of purple light erupts from the corpse. It throws Tae-ho off. He hits the ground and rolls. His head cracks against the obsidian. Everything goes white. Then silence. The chamber is dark. The purple veins in the walls are dead. The throne of fused bone is just a chair now. The air is still. Tae-ho lies on his back. He can't move. He can't feel his left arm. His ribs are a chorus of fire. Blood pools under him. His mana reserves are a dry well, but he's breathing. The system window flickers into existence above his face. Gold edges. Warm light. The words are blurry. He blinks until they sharpen. Monster defeated. Hwang Seok-jun. Level 78. Unique talent activates. Passive skill available for copy. Void resistance. Tae-ho laughs. It comes out as a wet cough. Blood flecks his lips. But he laughs anyway. Because of course. Of course the old monster's final gift is the one thing that would have made this fight easy. He accepts. The passive settles into his body. It's not like the others. There's no heat, no cold, no new sense clicking into place. Just a quiet thrum under his skin. Like a second heartbeat. Like something in his bones just woke up and yawned. The void energy still lingering in the chamber brushes against him. It used to feel like pressure. Like drowning. Now it feels like nothing. Like air. He lies there for a long time. The ceiling is too dark to see. His blood is warm on the cold obsidian. Mana recovery is crawling through his system. It stitches the worst of the internal bleeding. It knits the cracked ribs. It can't fix the shoulder. That's a real wound. That'll need a healer. But he's not dying. He pushes himself up with his right arm. The world spins. He waits for it to stop. It doesn't. He stands anyway. His left arm hangs dead at his side. The wound in his shoulder has stopped bleeding. Frost aura iced it shut. That's either genius or stupid. He'll find out later. He walks to the severed hand. The Dead Star sword lies beside it. The blade is dark now. No purple sparks. No hum. Just cold metal. He picks it up with his good hand. It's heavier than it looks. The balance is perfect. He drives it into the obsidian floor. It stands upright. A monument. Then he turns to the corpse. Hwang Seok-jun's body is already crumbling. The void energy ate everything. What's left is a husk of gray skin and brittle bone. The armor is slag. The eyes are empty sockets. Tae-ho looks at him for a long moment. Then he spits on the floor. He limps toward the corridor. Each step is agony. The obsidian door is a distant rectangle of gray light. It takes him 20 minutes to reach it. He has to stop 3 times. His vision keeps swimming. But he doesn't fall. He pushes the door open. Sunlight is blinding. Cold northern air hits his face. The sky is overcast. The sealed dungeon's scar is just a crack in the earth behind him. He climbs out. His legs give out at the top. He sits on the frozen grass. The city is a smudge on the horizon. Smoke rises from its chimney. Someone is probably cooking breakfast. Someone is probably arguing about tournament brackets. Someone is probably wondering if he's dead yet. Guess what? He isn't. He pulls the metal from under his tunic, the Order of the Burning Shield. The silver dragon is smeared with blood. The star is dented. He presses his thumb against it. He made it. 3 figures are running toward him from the city gates. He can't see who they are. His vision is too blurry, but one of them is short. One of them is old. One of them is moving faster than the others. Subin reaches him first. He's crying. He's always crying. He skids to a stop and grabs Tae-ho's shoulders. Then he sees the wound. Then he sees the blood. Then he screams for a healer. So Kyung-hwan arrives second. He doesn't say anything. He just looks at the sealed dungeon, then at Tae-ho, then at the sword still clenched in Tae-ho's good hand. His eyes narrow. He knows what that blade means. He knows what it cost. He bows his head. The third figure is Jang Mi-ri. She's carrying a medical kit. Her hands are steady. She's already pulling out bandages and elixirs. She asks if he can walk. Tae-ho shakes his head. She calls for a stretcher. The city gates open. More people are coming. Hunters, officials, spectators who heard the news. Word travels fast when you kill a legend. Tae-ho doesn't see them. He's staring at the sky. The clouds are breaking. A shaft of sunlight hits the frozen grass. It's warm on his face. He closes his eyes. He's done. For now. The stretcher arrives. Hands lift him. Subin is still crying. Seo is walking beside him. Mi-ri is checking his pulse. The crowd parts as they carry him through the gates. Someone starts clapping, then someone else, then the whole street. Tae-ho doesn't hear it. He's already asleep. 3 weeks later, he stands in the royal throne room. The bandages are off. The shoulder is still stiff, but the healers say it'll recover fully. He's wearing a new tunic. Dark blue, silver trim. Subin picked it out. He said it made Tae-ho look less like a corpse. The king is old, older than Tae-ho expected. White beard, kind eyes. He holds the metal in his weathered hands, the same metal Tae-ho pressed his thumb against on the frozen grass. The king asks if he knows what this is. Tae-ho says it's the Order of the Burning Shield. The king nods. He says it's more than that. It's a promise. The Burning Shield was founded by hunters who swore to protect the kingdom no matter the cost. They didn't care about rank. They didn't care about profession. They only cared about the people. He pins the medal to Tae-ho's chest. He says the kingdom owes him a debt. The tournament victory was one thing. Killing Hwang Seok-jun was another. Tae-ho didn't just win a fight. He ended a threat that had been festering for decades. The sealed dungeon is empty now. The void energy is gone. The north is safe. Tae-ho doesn't know what to say, so he just bows. The king laughs. He says, humility is rare in hunters, especially young ones. He asks what Tae-ho wants. A title, land, gold, name it. Tae-ho thinks about it. The answer comes faster than he expected. He wants the academy, not to run it, not to own it. He wants to fix it. The profession ceremony, the common track, the way the system discards people before they even get a chance. He wants everyone to have a shot, like he did. The throne room goes quiet. The advisors are muttering. The nobles are frowning. That's a big ask. Bigger than gold, bigger than land. The king looks at him for a long time. Then he smiles. He says Tae-ho reminds him of the first burning shield. Stubborn, idealistic, annoying. He grants the request. Tae-ho will have a seat on the Academy Council. He'll have funding. He'll have access to the royal archives. He'll have the authority to redesign the common track from the ground up. Tae-ho's heart is pounding. This is bigger than any monster, bigger than any dungeon. This is the real fight. And he just got the best weapon he could ask for. He bows again, lower this time. The king tells him to rise. He says there's one more thing. A messenger arrived this morning from the eastern continent. They've heard about the boy who copies monster passives. They've heard about the sealed dungeon. They've sent an invitation. The king holds up a scroll. The seal is gold. The crest is a phoenix wreathed in lightning. He says the Grand Colosseum of the Eastern Empire has extended a challenge. The world's strongest hunters, the world's deadliest monsters, a tournament that happens once every 10 years, and they want Tae-ho to compete. Tae-ho takes the scroll. It's heavier than it looks. He looks up at the king. He asks when it starts. The king grins. He says 6 months. Tae-ho tucks the scroll into his belt. His shoulder throbs. His ribs ache. His mana reserves are still recovering. But he's already thinking about the library, the archives, the monsters he hasn't hunted yet, passives he hasn't copied. He thanks the king. Then he turns and walks out of the throne room. Subin is waiting in the corridor. He's holding a tray of rice balls. He asks if Tae-ho wants one. Our boy grabs 3. He's starving. He's got 6 months and a whole world to hunt.